It is 6 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Pro Football Writers of America have selected Titans head coach Mike Vrabel as their coach of the year. Vrabel can still win the AP NFL Coach of the Year award, which will be handed out at the NFL Honors Show coming up on February 10th. Chicago Bears, they have a new head coach. Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. Also Denver Broncos new head coach as well. They hired Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. The Michigan Panthers, ever heard of them? You have now. They're part of the revamped USFL. They have a head coach when they kick off this spring. His name is Jeff Fisher. After 18 seasons as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger has announced his retirement. To the ice, the Edmonton Oilers defeated the Nashville Predators 3-2 in a shootout. UC Saros made 44 saves. The loss ended the Predators' 3-game winning streak. To the hardwood, the Lady Vols suffered their first SEC defeat of the season, losing at Auburn 71-61. On the men's side, Casey Alexander and the Belmont Bruins defeated Austin Peay 75-67. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit usstn.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in. JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone, finishing up another week. Different kind of week for me, but back yesterday, back today. 2 football games being played on Sunday. The Titans, unfortunately, not playing in either one of them, but their head coach, Pro Football Writers Association, chose as Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel. Congratulations to him for that. That's how we can welcome you in to the program for the next 4 hours here on this Friday with new coaches in the NFL. Potential quarterbacks on the move, all sorts of things going on. That was 11-year NFL veteran involved for life, Ramon Foster, hype manning the show at 6:03.
I have to.
On an early level. Jonathan Schaefer, of course, is here. Jason Martin, that's me. At Ramon Foster, at Schaefer on Sports, at JMart Radio, at JMart and Ramon. So, Ramon, what's happening? How are things?
Man, things are well, man. Said we had said we had snow a little bit in Hendersonville this morning. Walked out, it was nothing. I think it was just some cool little flurries, man. Jay, it's Friday. It's Friday. And you know what? If anybody needs a Friday, it's me today. I'll tell you that much.
Are you working so hard? Making things happen.
You know what? I can't call it work anymore after Coach Mack said that. He was like, this ain't work.
I mean, you got a massage yesterday?
I wasn't going to go there.
Went to the chiropractor?
That's like a 2-year needed massage, man.
Well, but you're saying, hey, I need a break when you had a break yesterday.
I did have a break.
So you kind of brought this upon yourself.
You know what? It was a magnificent massage yesterday, too. It was one of those deep tissue ones I needed. And let me tell you, this little lady that leaned into my backside.
My back is broken.
Man, I was just like, I know she's gonna prove a point. I knew it. Elbows deep, Shave. And you know what? I feel better today. I do feel better today.
Was there something I've missed?
No, I got a massage yesterday.
Okay.
No, that's it. That's all. Just a celebration of that.
He was just saying he needs it to be Friday, it's been a long week when he got a deep tissue massage yesterday. So I had to call him out for it.
Yeah, he did. Keeping me humble, as you should, Shave.
If you missed Lee Smith with us yesterday, we'll replay that for you when we come back out of this break. Kayla Anderson will join us from News 2 a little bit later on in the program as well. 615-737-1045 if you want to join us. 737-1045. Bill Barnwell's written a piece about what could happen in the quarterback rooms in both Tampa Bay and Green Bay, depending on if Aaron Rodgers is somewhere else or if Tom Brady decides to go to the house, including free agent moves and potential quarterbacks that could be there as stopgaps or bridge guys. And just in case you were wondering, Tannehill's name is not mentioned, I don't think, anywhere in the article. But Wentz is.
Who?
Jared Goff is.
Who?
There are some of the guys from last year, but Marcus Mariota is one of the number one options for Green Bay potentially in free agents.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
Now, LaFleur knows him well.
Hey, this is true. You never know. Marcus might have a whole lot left in the tank, man. I mean, we've seen other quarterbacks revamp their careers. I mean, Tannehill did it, right?
Yeah.
Until this past weekend.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of an unnecessary shot, but right.
I'm still, hey, we're still processing this thing, Jay.
I know. One question. So as we're processing it, here's the question of the day. Which team can you tolerate winning on Sunday? Chiefs or the Bengals? The team that knocked you out of the playoffs or the one that's been the gatekeeper for the AFC for the last 4 years? Do you want to see new blood in there? Do you want the team that knocked you out to then go ahead and win it all? Thereby maybe improving the quality of that loss in your own mind for a little bit? Or do you want to see them get stomped because you're angry with them for what they did last week? You can do, I don't need the, can we just drop a bomb on the stadium thing?
Right.
That answer doesn't help us. You actually have to get to an answer here. One of those two teams has to win. I think Bills fans would probably be through gritted teeth as well.
Man.
But, you know, again, there's only two teams that can compete for the AFC, and unfortunately, you made it into the Final Four, but that's as far as you were able to take it this year. So who can you stomach winning more? Cousin Danny's Bengals or the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes and the crew? As we now have new coaches in Chicago, we got new coaches in Denver. We've got rumors about Aaron Rodgers. And now Denver is the betting favorite, even over Green Bay, to land Aaron Rodgers.
Wowzers.
That flipped yesterday from them being right behind Green Bay to now being a minus 110 favorite to land them.
I'd like to see what that bet would actually pay off. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, let me put $2 on this one right here just to see what I can get back. That'd be real interesting, Jay. I never did it, so I might actually jump into that pool one day and be like, hey, let me go ahead and use one of these bets. I might pick like 1,000-to-1 odds on something, Jay, one day just to mess around with it. Is that okay?
Sure.
Sure.
I'm not a gambler, so.
Yeah, by the way, too, I jumped in one of my – Arian Foster had a Twitter space last night, and I jumped in there, man, and just to hear and listen. He actually asked me to, like, talk about some stuff, too, last night, and we had an open forum. But before I actually said anything, there was a girl who was a lady who was a Green Bay fan all her life. She was like, you know, we've gone from this quarterback and Aaron Rodgers all I've ever known my entire life. And she's asking him, you know, what do you think about what's going to happen in Green Bay? I'm like, number one, that's probably not Arian's forte right there as far as predicting what's going to happen in Green Bay. But I'll be real with you. It's not even the offseason. Well, it is for Green Bay also. But people are worried about Aaron Rodgers, man, in the Green Bay area for obvious reasons. But I'm thinking to myself, that's gonna crush them. Like I don't know how Green Bay is gonna do without Aaron Rodgers, especially as cocky as they've been over the last 15 plus, 20 plus years as far as what the organization's stability has been. That's gonna be a new era for them. You know what? I can say the same thing about Pittsburgh and Ben retiring. It's gonna be
what I was thinking.
New air for them too, man. That's those are some major moves for some traditional homes as far as, you know, winning and stuff like that. An NFL might look different, dog.
Right. I mean, there are some older teams that are old guard teams that were still around, that were still doing relevant things.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Green Bay, you've gotten used to two quarterbacks. Even if you're around my age, it's probably, you know, I'm 43, and you remember Brett,
yeah,
and you remember Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Indianapolis, you got lucky. You had the one Curtis Painter season between Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, and then unfortunately they couldn't keep Luck healthy because they drafted poorly around him, and now he's out of the league. And since then, they've been going whatever they could find. Jacoby Brissett, and then Phillip Rivers, now Carson Wentz. Who knows? Maybe they want to try something else. Like, there's all sorts of things like that. Most franchises aren't blessed enough, aren't lucky enough to have the same starting quarterback for an extended length of time. But Green Bay is one of the few where, look, it feels like you remember a time when Aaron Rodgers wasn't there, but only because you remember Brett Favre that way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't remember a bunch of other dudes that started games, even though here and there it would happen. He was an Iron Man.
Right.
Brett Favre had that record. And then Aaron Rodgers, he would lose a season to a collarbone or something like that, or end his season because of some kind of an injury. But outside of that, you knew who your quarterback was going to be. But I also think that if you're Green Bay, you've kind of seen this coming.
Mm-hmm.
I think going into this season, the way last offseason played out, I don't know that you're too surprised or shell shocked. The only thing is you saw Jordan Love play a couple of times, and I'm pretty sure most people wearing Green Bay merchandise don't believe he's the guy.
No. And that sucks for him because, I mean, he's a first rounder, He's a guy that I think a lot of people thought he had talent coming out of college. And I'll say this, Aaron Rodgers just kind of really jumped into that role. Well, he also had time to grow under Brett Favre also. And which Jordan Love has too, but the talent isn't there just up front for Jordan Love as it was for Aaron Rodgers, man. And it sucks for him because this is a fan base that's expecting something from day one, the moment he's announced as starting quarterback, if that actually happens.
Yes. And they're just not used to not being pretty good.
No.
And it's possible. Look, if Aaron leaves, Devontae Adams is going to leave.
100%.
I think the expectation is that Darius Smith might be a free agent, that somebody else is going to be playing and not Green Bay this time around.
Wow.
You've got that team is going to look vastly different, which is what Aaron said. He's like, I'm not here for a rebuild. Wherever he's going, he doesn't want a total rebuild where he can't win right now because, well, he's almost 40. He can't play forever, and I don't know that he wants to play as long as Tom played. I don't know. I don't know if he does go to Denver as this Peyton Manning and he's there for 3 years max, maybe 2 years. I could see that being the case. I could see that giving Hackett time if it works. And they're also, you saw they're looking at his quarterback's coach in Green Bay to be the OC.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying he ends up there. I am saying that it would make a heck of a lot of sense. The brain trust that was around him, the offense that he liked, the offense he's comfortable with, but a new scenario in the state that Shailene Woodley already loves. There's a lot to, if it were to happen, I don't think it would shock anybody at this point.
Absolutely not. Either way, if he does, again, the biggest conversation that I have been having with people is, well, how confident do you feel about the team here in Nashville if you get a Hall of Fame quarterback also in the AFC? That's going to be the trickle-down effect of, hey, you got to win now. Does John Robinson and his staff feel a little bit of a pressure to, build a team to compete with those teams? Because that's what we're seeing right now. Not necessarily super teams, but if you look at Denver and their receiving core and their defense, you say, man, if they add Aaron, they're really good. Kansas City's still real good. There's a bunch of teams that already got a template set that you need to compete against this offseason.
Yeah, that's right. It only gets harder. And, I mean, when you look at it from a quarterback perspective, it's going to be real hard to pick the Titans to come out of the AFC, considering the challenge that awaits them in their own conference. Just making it to the Super Bowl is going to be so difficult. There's going to be changes, certainly, with quarterbacks, but there's a lot of young quarterbacks in the NFC, some that you don't believe in, some that are probably going to get at least one more try.
Mm-hmm.
But the AFC, my gosh.
Yeah.
Half the conference is young and Studley at quarterback. And then it gets to the same daggone question that we've asked for 2 years, and that is the guy that's here good enough?
Mm-hmm.
And until I see otherwise, I got to say no. In the playoffs, I got to say no, because yesterday we got to that point where I had the person say, well, all we need is a tight end. All we need is, well, I thought all you needed was Julio. I thought all you needed was a secondary wide receiver after Corey, better than Corey. But you could let Jonnu go. Everything was going to be good. All of these things, everything. Here's the thing. If everything's perfect around him, he can win a Super Bowl. But how often is that the case in the NFL? I think that's the question. How often are things perfect around you in the NFL. How often does that happen? Garoppolo's proving it can happen. But man, also wouldn't be surprised to see the Rams put them out of their misery this weekend.
Also,
So we'll see.
And, speaking of that right there being perfect, Lee's conversation we had yesterday.
Yes.
He kind of alluded to what you're saying. Like, it's certain quarterbacks that that are gatekeepers to that trophy. And he was realistic about it in our conversation yesterday, man.
Yeah, and good segue, because when we come back, we're going to let you hear our conversation with Lee Smith. If you missed it, it's, just as he has announced his retirement, what he's going to be doing in Knoxville. A really cool conversation from a really cool guy. If you missed it, you definitely want to hear it. We'll play it for you next. It's JMart and Ramon here on this Friday, 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville, allfourseasonsgarages.com. Go there, say, hey, I want the JMart special. He got the LiftMaster. I want the LiftMaster. They'll put in the LiftMaster, and then your life will instantly get better.
Yes,
That's how that
sir.
story goes. That's how that goes. Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Jason Martin, boys with you till 10 a.m. this morning. If you're on hold, you can hang out at 615-737-1045. The question of the day, Chiefs, Bengals, who can you tolerate winning more as a Titans fan? And then, of course, you can bridge that into if you have gotten past the stages of grief to the level of acceptance over what's happened, or if you're still, if it's going to be tough for you. And the other question, I guess the secondary question to that is this: who can you stomach winning more, and can you watch? Are you actually to a spot where you don't feel like you can watch these games this weekend? I'd be curious to see if anybody is at that point, or if everybody's ready to watch these two football games, because both of them ought to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Also interesting, Lee Smith, who played for the Raiders. He played for the Bills. He most recently played for Arthur Smith in the Atlanta Falcons, a guy that went to Knoxville originally, had some issues, ended up at Marshall, had some issues there, but now is just an awesome dude. Mm-hmm. And if you missed this conversation with us yesterday, he has announced his retirement from the NFL, but I actually think the world might be better for it, not because they're losing him in football, but because of what they're going to gain potentially in the community and in our state in Tennessee. So if you missed it, here's our conversation with former NFL tight end Lee Smith after his 11-year NFL career came to an end. So we can't wait to talk about what you're going to be doing. But look, I've spent the last few years every weekday hanging out with a guy who walked away from the league on his own terms, a guy who didn't let the league retire him. He still technically could have played, but he walked away and decided he was going to do something else with his life. So you know, spending the time that you spent in the league, especially your story, how difficult and challenging it was, and the obstacles that you had rolled into, a lot of them, you know, of your own making and things like that. When you look back right now, what does it mean to you to have had the career that you did and to be able to walk away at age 34 feeling the way you do?
Well, yeah, I'm sure y'all have heard Ramon talk about it a lot. You know, just you don't get to do it that way, and it's obviously a dream come true just to get to do it at all, man.
Mm-hmm.
Kid from Powell, Tennessee, who, like you guys say, I have a house with bricks on it and stuff nowadays, so it's a pretty cool deal. So life's good, man. I couldn't be more pleased. I got an awesome bride, 4 awesome kids. Mine and Ramon's kids are around the same age. You know, me and my wife started super young with our family, so it was a no-brainer. It's time. I'm glad the good Lord kind of put it on my heart, you know, in multiple ways that football was a huge part of my life and will continue to be, but just not as a player. So I'm juiced, man. I'm fired up, kind of invigorated, and feel like I'm alive to go do what's next and help all these kiddos down here in Knoxville.
So Moan, Moan's he's got Keisha and he's got 2 wonderful kids, and I know how important they've been, not just to who he is now, but who he has become through the years. What are you, Lee, without your wife and your family along this pathway, especially early on as you were really trying to discover yourself as a man?
What would I be without my family, you said?
Yeah, I've heard you talk about this before, how important it was for your wife and just your family, the way that has played out for you throughout your career, how important that was to you just becoming the person that you wanted to be.
Oh, man, I mean, Ramon is one of the few people on planet Earth that was there when I was a 18-year-old kid at the University of Tennessee. And, you know, I'd be dead in a ditch or in jail or, you know, God knows where if it wasn't for my wife and kids. Now, you know, hopefully the Lord would have grabbed me at some point and straightened me out, but it sure would have been plenty of mistakes down the road. You know, once you get those little eyes that you created looking up at you, and you know that you're the one person on earth that, you know, has to protect them and take care of them, and you got an awesome wife who puts up with your crap every day. You know, at a certain point, I feel like if you're a real man, if that don't get you going in the right direction, then you got some real issues. So it was a no-brainer for me. My family was what it was always about. I know it's the cliche answer. Why do you play the game? Why do you this? Why do you that? Like, don't get me wrong. I love the game of football, and I love that, feeling of dominating another man and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. I can't lie. I loved my career and playing the game. But when I woke up on Monday mornings with the way, our bodies felt, none of that money mattered. None of the fame ever really mattered to me. I didn't care about that stuff. But those four little ones and my badass wife, that's what got my butt over to the facility and got me on a 6-day race to do it again the next Sunday.
Man, Lee, officially, welcome to the other side. And when I say other side, that means retirement, and you're just a regular pedestrian now, man. So with that being said, when you made that announcement, you and your family made that decision, legitimately, where was that stress after that? Because as soon as I walked in the house after talking to management in Pittsburgh's like, I'm done, I felt like the world just was off my shoulders. Did you had that feeling too?
Yeah, man. Arthur Smith's a friend of mine. Obviously, Terry Fontenette down in Atlanta, it was their first year. So, and having Matty as a quarterback, a lot like playing with Ben all those years, having a veteran guy. So, especially offensively, kind of the four of us, I talked to those three guys and kind of let them know those last couple weeks that, I didn't want some farewell tour during the season. Obviously, we did some stuff, some media stuff postseason to try to get the word out on this gym and help these kiddos down here in Knoxville, which is gonna be really cool. But yeah, man, everybody, it's gonna be bittersweet. It's gonna be this, it's gonna be that, and listen, I gotta make sure I'm super distracted when training camp comes around, so I don't do something stupid. So it wasn't bittersweet, big dog. It was just sweet.
Yeah.
11 years, a teenage son, and three other kids that have never spent a Thanksgiving or a Christmas in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is where it's home to us. They're ready. My wife's ready. Football changed our life. Mine and my wife's life. So it's awesome, bro. Like I said, I've called all you old heads and asked all you guys what I needed to really prepare for to try to make sure I could avoid the same potholes or, getting sucker punched around corners. And that was kind of the thing is, listen, man, when training camp comes around, when football comes around, when all those moments that your whole career, it was time to get back to work, you better make sure you got something going on.
Yes, sir. And I'll call you sometime today so we can talk more through that, Lee. That's one of the biggest things I think for guys going to retirement. I've told Jay them that. I told everybody that's walked away from the game, you have to have a circle. You got to have people you can lean on. They can lean on you and just get that, because you've done this all of your life, Lee, so we'll talk about that off air. But again, this is another question I have for you. In the same position as me, walked away from the game with no ring. All the things that came with it was awesome, but as far as the way the Titans lost this past weekend, Lee, because we're still dealing with that loss against the Bengals here in Nashville. From your perspective, man, just talk on how hard it is just to, one, have a winning season, and two, to actually be on a team that actually chases that Super Bowl run.
Well, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Unless you play with Tom Brady, there's Aaron Rodgers has won one, I think.
Yeah.
I think maybe Drew won one, Peyton won two. Like you look at the last 20 years, and it's Tom and those Ben. It's Tom and those elite quarterbacks Pat. Like it's not a real secret sauce to figure out who's winning championships.
Yeah.
And if you don't get to play with one of those guys, obviously I think Josh Allen will have a ring in the very near future. If it wasn't for those 13 seconds the other night that I was cussing my TV, then I think, this would have been the year that Josh put one on. I think whoever won that game is probably going to win it all. That's my opinion. We'll see what happens. But, you know what, man? I tried to always make sure that I didn't put too much on that, Ramon, because I knew how unlikely it was, right? Like, let's just call it what it is. Me and Cole Beasley have this conversation all the time. He wants a ring so bad he can't stand it. And sometimes it controls his energy and it just drives him nuts. And I'm like, man, it's the saying, don't worry about things you can't control. And that's easier said than done. But man, as long as I played the game the right way and loved my teammates and and the Ramon Fosters of the world from the outside on other teams that I respected, and the guys that were in that locker room with me, as long as they love Lee Smith, man, one of these days when I'm ashes and my wife flushes my ass down the toilet, I don't need a Super Bowl ring in that urn. So as horrible as that may sound, I would have loved to have won one. Don't get me wrong. And in the moment when you walk off that AFC Championship field that I walked off of last year in Buffalo, in the moment when the Bills, watch that 13 seconds slip away, or, the Packers or the Titans as the number one seed kind of let it slip away from them, those moments are brutal. Do not get me wrong. In the moment for fans and the team, it's just gut-wrenching, and you wear it for months and months and months until you can get back to work. But now that I'm officially done, man, I don't lose any sleep at night that I don't have a ring. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, I got a pretty cool wife who's fun to look at, healthy kids, and life's pretty good for Lee Smith. I'm blessed. I do feel like I played the game the right way and tried to, put my teammates in front of myself my whole career. So it'd be cool to have one to talk about, while we drink a cold beer the next time you're in town. But besides that, I don't put too much into it.
Right.
Lee, was it harder for you to watch guys that you love and guys that you went to war with last year lose such a classic football game? So was it maybe even harder to watch that and hurt for them maybe than some of your own losses?
Yeah, man. I mean, Kansas City whipped us last year in the AFC Championship game. Let's just call it what it is. Josh was ready for the moment this year. In my opinion, it was the best football game in a long time. And it's like, and Ramon, you can speak, all you guys can that have kids. Like, I'm a lot more nervous sitting in the stands watching my sons play than I am when I'm out there playing. And pretty much if you switch me for Emmanuel Sanders, it's the same roster in Buffalo this year. They just got better, adding Emmanuel and trading my butt. So, to sit there and watch those guys lose like that, the dudes that I love, my phone was definitely buzzing. Some of those guys got on the bus, which was brutal. It was. I've never watched a football game from start to finish my entire life until that one. It was kind of that closure moment of, all right, I'm like Ramon said, I'm just a pedestrian now. Let me watch a football game. And it happened to be, a locker room full of men that I love. I mean, Sean's got it rolling up there, so that locker room's not changing very much. All these owners that think they want a new coach every 3 years and the locker room never stays the same and there's no continuity, well, no wonder you can't win.
Yeah.
So the fact that the Bills are rolling, it's the same faces, it's the same dudes, it's the same brotherhood as I was a part of for those 2 years until this year. So it was the hardest football moment probably of my life sitting there, besides, watching my sons play, watching those boys go through that like that. It was brutal. So, yes, a lot worse because you just get to feel it and watch it, and it's just different, man. It was the first time ever as a non-player I watched the game and kind of wore the emotion. So I see why all these fans are so damn crazy.
Yeah, being a fan's a new universe. I've talked to Ramon about that many times over the last few years.
It's so now
that you're moving on from playing in the league, I know what it is that you're doing and the performance center that you're opening, but do you feel like that's a calling for you? Something larger than just an occupation in terms of your own story as you were growing up and being a mentor to young men to try and make sure that their station in life is where it needs to be and that their foundation is centered where it needs to be?
Absolutely. I had the best dad in the world for the first 10 years of my life. He was just rock solid, man. I got to be raised by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so I got to see how to do it right, and then I got to see how to do it wrong. So, I absolutely. And some kids never get to see how to do it right at all. Mm-hmm. And those are the kids, especially the young men. Don't get me wrong. If you're a volleyball player, a softball stud, these little girlies, I want to help them the same way. But I know how a man's brain works. I know how males are wired, especially, athletes that are 12 to 18 years old. We're just idiots, man. Mm-hmm. We ain't got no sense under good parents, much less parents that are off the damn rails. So, to be a resource to this community. Don't get me wrong. I'm building a place that I want to be as elite as anywhere in the country to train young athletes. So, there's going to be if Ramon Foster's kid wants to come train with me, he's getting his piggy bank. I know how deep his pockets are. But I want to develop a nonprofit side of this thing. I want to rally the troops from my NFL guys. There's not many NFL football players that grew up in mansions. So all these dudes get it. They understand what I'm trying to do. I want to pull the resources together and go over to Austin East High School here in Knoxville and talk to their head football coach and say, hey man, who's your 2 or 3 kids that are, the real players that maybe athletics can change their life if they just catch a break and get around the right people and, bring those kids over to the gym and love on them. So it's going to be a cool place, man. A melting pot of just an elite atmosphere that feels like, an NFL environment, which will be good for me in my transition, and also, build a lot of memories for these kids in the Knoxville community. And then most importantly, that final piece that's the most important to me is grabbing those kiddos that can truly benefit from being around the Ramon Fosters and Lee Smiths and some of the guys I'll bring here in town that are good, strong men who love their families, love Jesus, and just want to be around these boys and be around ball.
Lee, I love all of that, but what the heck is wrong with you, man? Huh?
There's a lot wrong with me. There's a lot wrong with me, bro. You know that.
Yeah, I know, man. But I'll have to hook you up with Rob Ayers, who's also the new DC at Oak Ridge High School, too, by the way. That'll be a great pipeline for you, too. But Lee, on the way out, man, I saw that you were able to take an unofficial visit with your kid to the University of Tennessee this weekend. By the way, your kid looked like an awesome stud, man. Just putting yourself back at that place, because I think that's where it turned the key for you also, as far as whenever you departed UT, I got to go get myself together. That was the Lee that, everybody I know knows now is when that moment happened. What did it mean to you to actually go back to that starting spot, Lee, and see him in that uniform with your wife and just be like, man, you know what? I might have messed up, but I got this one right so far.
Yeah, man. I mean, my father played there. I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, married my high school sweetheart from Knoxville, Tennessee. This is home. So, being back over there on that campus, I told my wife, I'm like, you know what, man? I might not have finished here, and I might not have been able to run through that tee and all that stuff that I dreamed of, but this is a really special place. And I took a lot of visits during that recruiting process. I've been around. I've played a lot of ball. I've played with guys from all over the country, obviously from these SEC programs. There's just something about the University of Tennessee that's special. And getting to be over there with my boy, and don't get me wrong, I cuss him daily and tell him that he's going to screw it up and he's not good enough. And I'm trying to keep him humble. He won't listen though. But he's a good boy. He's got a good mama, and it's really fun. It was fun to see him over there. Obviously, it's a different world, man. I mean, 8th graders, that wasn't ever heard of when we were coming up. So it's a little bit of a foreign land to me. I want to keep him humble and make sure he's gritty and works, but I'm not going to take the moments from him. I want him to enjoy it, and it was fun to watch him. And that orange is special to me, whether or not I finish there or not. It's special to my wife. It's special to our family. So it was a cool moment for everybody. And like I always say, it don't matter how good you are at 13. It matters how good you are that first time you step on the field on Sundays one day or on Saturdays in college. So we'll see how gritty he stays and how much he works. But right now it's fun to watch him kind of enjoy this moment for sure.
That's awesome.
No, it really is. Lee, we appreciate some of your time. I'm sure we will chat with you again. I'm sure Moan will chat with you many, many times. But what you're doing, good Lord, I mean, truly fantastic stuff. And we just look forward to seeing it flourish. And I feel like that you're going to glorify the Lord through it. And you can't ask for more than that.
Absolutely, guys. This is the one place that day or night, Ramon texts me, I'm always here for you guys. You guys are the best. You've always taken good care of me. Anything I can ever do, I'm through Nashville, I'll hit y'all up. But
no doubt,
if you're down in Knoxville, do the same. It's on me.
Let's do it, my friend. We'll appreciate it.
Congrats on your career.
Ramon, if I don't get that jersey in the next week, I'm driving to your house.
I asked you for the address again. I guess I just got to go find the address in the text thread, huh? You gonna make me work to send you the jersey, Lee? That's so messed up, dog.
the fact that it's 6 months late, yeah, you can work.
See, we'll talk offline. I was about to go real ratchet with you.
Terrestrial radio, Moan.
Yeah, it's the family network.
Thanks, fellas. Y'all are the best.
That's Lee Smith. Oh, yeah, I'm going to need that jersey, too, as a matter of fact. When I'm allowed back in the studio a week from today, I'm looking forward to seeing that wrapped on the chair. If not, there's going to be issues. As soon as I see you, it's going to be a misunderstanding.
It's going to be some furniture moving in here.
Indeed. I'm going to feel some type of way. 615-737-1045. 2 questions, and we have a poll question up at JMart and Ramon on Twitter as well. Bengals, Chiefs. As a Titans fan, which one can you stomach winning more? Because somebody does have to win, unfortunately, folks. Like, one of those teams is going to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. And then secondarily, are you a Titans fan that still is not planning to watch the games this weekend at all? Like, you need to get away from football. Just curious where everybody in the community is here on this Friday. We'll be right back. It's JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Lee Smith was great. Replayed that for you in the last segment from yesterday's show. If you missed it, certainly you could still go podcast, or if you just want some other people to hear it. What are you laughing about, Mom? What happened?
Shave caught me yawning, man. And he's just all in my ear, just telling me, bad Moan.
I said something
into the microphone.
I said something inappropriate to him off air.
No,
that's not a new thing.
Nobody said it was a new thing.
It's Friday. Shafe is officially here. Friday Shafe is officially here.
Salty.
Dog. No, we're far from that. But you broke
615-737-1045. Poll question: Bengals, Chiefs. Who can you stomach winning more if you're a Titans fan? And are you watching? Or are you somebody that's just kind of checked out on the NFL, at least for now? Maybe you'll come back for the Super Bowl, but you're still licking wounds from last week, which is understandable because that was a tough loss, obviously. Let's go to Eric in Nashville. He's up first on the line. Eric, good morning.
Hey guys, I'm not pissed off. I'm still gonna watch regardless. It's gonna hurt seeing it, but I'm still watching. Listen, I'm pulling for Cincinnati, guys. I mean, I hate that we lost to them, guys, but they were the Bungles for the longest time. Couldn't win a playoff game, and I'm so happy that they're making this run. I can't pull for Kansas City. Andy Reid's already got one, guys, and so it's Patrick Mahomes, and I don't want this to become, which it looks like it's become another New England. So I'm pulling for the Bengals, guys. And the thing is, guys, we will see the Bengals next year. They're coming here, of course, depending on where we finish and where they finish, because the year before Pittsburgh won the division, and we had to go to Pittsburgh. So that means Cincinnati comes here. But unfortunately, we also have to go to Buffalo and Kansas City next year. So it's the Bengals for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping they win the Super Bowl, but I got a feeling they're not going to do it. I hope I'm wrong, but that's just the way I feel. Guys, y'all take care and have a great weekend.
You too, Eric.
You too, Eric. Hey, all that makes sense.
It does.
It totally makes sense. If I had to answer the question, I think I said it yesterday, I want to see Cincinnati go ahead and win it all.
You want to break it
up? I really
up.
do.
Yeah.
I like watching Joe Burrow. I know he beat the Titans last week. I get it. I know my Denver Broncos are nowhere near the playoffs. I get it. I like Joe Burrow. I liked watching him in college. I like the way he carries himself. I like watching the skill players on that team play. And I'm good with seeing the Chiefs for a little while. Like,
you're over it.
Yeah, I've never been a San Francisco fan, even though I like some of their guys,
their history and
Rams. I like I wouldn't mind seeing Stafford cash this thing in. I mean, all that pressure for him to actually come out of the thing with a Super Bowl would be really cool. So I'm going Rams Bengals if I had to pick the two teams I think I would most like to see win right now. Let's go to Misty in Lebanon next. Misty, what's going on?
Hey, Misty.
Hey guys, good morning. We listen to y'all every morning on the way into school and work.
Yes.
And
Hey.
I just had to call in. Today's Jersey Day. We are representing our Titans today at school. So if I had to say who I wanted to win this weekend, I'm still bitter about that game last weekend. It has to be the Chiefs. And I say that because I know the Chiefs aren't going to win the Super Bowl because the Rams are going to go in. Stafford's going to get his first Super Bowl. And I can't watch them this weekend. I can't. I left that stadium last weekend. I walked in knowing we were going to win.
Yeah.
And I walked out with my head so low because we lost that game. So I'm looking forward to next year, our revenge game against the Bengals. Mm-hmm. And I just have to say, tighten up. And I can't wait for next season, boys. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks.
And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
Yep, well done.
Misty came in hot, and I'm appreciative of it. She did.
So, all right, since I answered before we took that call, before we take John's call, Moan, how are you feeling about this game?
I got Kansas City. I'm almost at the point where you can't. You got to treat Kansas City the way you did Tom, man, or the way you do Alabama. Like, until they prove they're not that good, I do think they're a team that has two different modes. Seeing them play in the playoffs so far, I'm like, yeah, they're not missing them at all. They're hitting on all cylinders right now. So I got Kansas City, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Bengals did it. And, just because I've been seeing people saying they're, a matchup nightmare when it comes down to the things that they do well. And the one thing I am worried about is if the Honey Badger is going to be back this week. And truth be told, that secondary of Kansas City at some time can give up a big player too. And Cincinnati got the guys to go over the top and actually make those plays also.
Yeah. I was more asking who you would like to see win.
Oh, who would I like to see?
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, I don't know how you don't pick the Chiefs necessarily. Although I agree, I think that the Bengals have the kind of mix that could give their defense fits
Yep.
potentially. But who
would I
you're not
like to?
Yeah,
I'll
right.
be real with you. It'd be good to see what Cincinnati can do. And I say that even more so because as much as they push the quarterback to the front of the line as far as the draft goes, I think that'll put a stop to it where you get more positions to say, no, we need that type of guy if Joe did do it. You know?
Sure.
We see it. It's happening already. We got 2 or 3 quarterbacks that I don't think any of us believe are top 15, and they're going to go top 15. So what Joe Cool is doing, man, you got to tip your hat to it. I'm not even a hater of it. It'd be good to see it.
Yeah, so John and Scott, we'll get to your answers to the poll question and chat with you after the top of the hour headlines as we're a little bit late. We'll be right back. Second hour of the program, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
7:03. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. To the ice, the Edmonton Oilers defeated the Nashville Predators 3-2 in a shootout. UC Saros had a good game, made 44 saves. The loss ended the Predators' 3-game winning streak. To the hardwood, the Lady Vols suffered their first SEC defeat of the season, losing at Auburn 71-61. On the men's side, Belmont defeated Austin Peay 75-67. Pro Football Writers of America, they've selected Titans coach Mike Vrabel as Coach of the Year. Coach Vrabes can still win the AP NFL Coach of the Year award, which will be handed out at the NFL Honors Show on February 10th. A couple of head coaching moves yesterday. Chicago Bears have hired Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus to be their new HC. Denver Broncos have hired Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. You may have heard about the USFL rebooting and revamping for the spring. The Michigan Panthers of the USFL have hired Jeff Fisher to be their head coach. After 18 seasons as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger announced his retirement yesterday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour number 2, JMart and Ramon here on this Friday, championship weekend in the NFL, conference championship weekend, that is. So we welcome you back. Kayla Anderson from News 2 will join us in the next hour. Man, does feel like an AFC title game should be played in this city on Sunday.
It does.
Seems like I should be trying to move my tickets because I probably couldn't go.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Even though, let's be real, look, my symptoms are pretty much alleviated at this point.
There we go.
Other than just my voice being a little bit weak, but it hadn't been too bad. I hope the same for anybody else out there that's dealing with it. But I still probably would not have endeavored to the game. I don't know. Maybe I would have.
That's the adult decision to make, Jay. No, that's the adult decision to make right there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It depends. By the time we get to Sunday, if I'm asymptomatic and I'd already gone through what I'd gone through, then yeah, I might have, but is what it is. We'll be watching from the house, as will all Titans fans, unfortunately, because Nissan's going to be empty on Sunday. 19-16, the Bengals eliminated the Titans. Now it's Bengals Chiefs. The poll question today at JMart and Ramon on Twitter is, who can you stomach winning more as a Titans fan, Bengals or Chiefs? And secondarily, are you watching? Is this something that you may have tuned out of? Seems like most football fans are going to watch. I mean, even if this were, even as tough as the loss is, I still imagine most everybody is going to watch because it's the NFL and that's just kind of what we do in this country.
No doubt.
But did you ever run into that moment where, Lee Smith told us this yesterday when he was on with us that, last week is the first football game he's watched from start to finish that he can even remember. And I think a lot of players maybe are like that, but you see a lot of former athletes and former players and even current players tweeting when they're out, hey, go ahead and do your thing, Patrick Mahomes, or whatever it might be, or NBA players talking about Ja Morant when he's on the floor, when they're off that day or whatever. So when you got knocked out, when the Steelers would come up short, when their season would come to an end, were you still watching football at that point, or were you kind of checked out?
I was checked out. I did it in passing. Like, it was just one of those things, like, it would be on. Like, it wasn't an event. Like, my wife continuously says I tricked her. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you said you didn't watch sports. And I legitimately didn't, because I was always doing something else or finding something that interested me more. But after playing the game and appreciating the process of it, I do sit back and watch games now. And this is before I took this job to where, I had to watch it. So I do enjoy that now. Like I said, I sat down the other day and watched the replay of the 49ers and Green Bay. I've never done that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's where I am now.
Did you ever watch your games on like the TV broadcasts? Like, I know you watch film, but did you ever watch like Steelers games on the NFL Network just to hear how the announcers did, what they were saying, what they were seeing, or was it always just film for you and move on?
It was film for me and move on.
Okay.
I told y'all that. Like, I was the king of not appreciating the moment. Like, I heard Blaine say that, and I felt him so much on that, man, phrasing, pause, because he he said that.
I got to go. I'll see you guys on Monday.
I did them both at the same time. Pause. No, phrasing. Okay, so here we go. I never appreciated the moments because I was always like, what's next? You know, that's why I tell my boys, like, if you do something great, okay, do it again. And that's where I was as far as when I played. Like, I would appreciate a good win, big win, maybe for about 24 hours, but, like, I wasn't about to sit at home and watch the replay of it. Like, I know certain guys that did do that type of stuff, and one of the guys in particular, like Ron Shazier, he wanted to be great at everything. He wanted to know everything about every move he was making on the field, which is why his injury was so catastrophic, because the trajectory of his career was just that. And I won't knock anybody that does do those types of things, but after I watched the film on Monday, like, okay, next game, next opponent. You know, that's where I was. I wasn't diving into the past when I knew there was so much more to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's different, completely different what we do now, but, like, I'm not somebody that generally listens to us after the show. Not even from, like, a narcissistic standpoint, but even, like, occasionally I'll check in just to make sure we sound okay, to see how the flow is going. Maybe we've had a guest and I want to go back and there are a lot of times where I'm super self-critical and I'm just like, all right, what did I do here?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go back and listen to it with fresh ears where I'm not in the moment and see how that plays. The same thing's like a stand-up, trying to figure out where the joke might have gone wrong.
Yeah.
And working out material and stuff like that before you put in front of a giant audience or something. So I think it's a little bit different, but I don't know how I would have acted, because I would have been around film so much. Would I then have wanted to go home in my free time and do that? Like, a lot of people would think that all we do is listen to radio shows.
Right.
That is not the case. Like, very little radio do I listen to outside of the confines of what we do. Mainly, one of the reasons why is because I don't want everything to feel like it's coming out of somebody else, like, because I've listened to everybody else's opinion. Now I don't have one of my own. I don't need it to necessarily scar what I have to say. Like, hopefully I have something original to offer. So it's a little bit, like I said, it's different in the media, but I was always curious once the season ended, how various players reacted, if they just had to completely decompress or if they sat down and watched the rest of the NBA playoffs.
I go back and listen to us.
Knocked out.
I go back and listen to us. We're great.
I know you do.
Why wouldn't we? Come on. We're so good. Why don't you listen to us a second or third or fourth time? Come on now.
My dog.
Hell yeah.
My dog.
Shafe, I know you do, but that's just because.
Well, okay. Now I'm being.
You're an arrogant egomaniac.
First of all, no. Second of all, I'm being mostly facetious. But I'll go back and listen to us to see if something works or if it landed, or it's film study for me. And I totally understand why Ramon would watch it and walk away. Yeah. Whereas for me, it's like, I want to. Did it land the way I think it landed? So many times I'll be driving back home and be like, all right, let's roll that beautiful bean footage and see if it turns out.
Well, I'm glad that works for you. I'm glad that we have you to do that, because that would drive me crazy. Because if I feel like we've done something well, I kind of just don't want to prove myself wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like, if it's good, I'm going to let it. If I feel good about it, that's about 2 out of 10 times.
But I'm kind of like,
so I'm going to enjoy that.
I don't appreciate it in the moment. So, because I'm busy doing 3 or 4 different things. So I'm like, all right, how did this really sound outside of the confines of what I was doing at that time?
You know one game I have not to this day gone back and watched.
Jacksonville or the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Won't even.
I can understand. How many times do you think you would have watched that if you guys had won that game?
I'm talking about it. It'd be in the archives right now, okay?
You'd have a room dedicated to it where it's running a stream 24/7 all the time.
And the tour of my house. Hey, Jay, you know what would have been playing on the projector in the bonus room? The game.
What was funny was when we were at the orange and white game.
Yeah.
And before the game, we're sitting there in the Sprinter van.
That's right.
And we turn the TV on, and it's an old Cowboys-Steelers game.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the screen, and I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at the screen, and I'm looking at you. And it was interesting.
It was, man. But yeah, man. That game I saw it. Hey, Titans Nation, I feel y'all. And I think Missy kind of, brought everything together in her explanation of last week and, what she thought of, the game. She said what? I walked into the stadium thinking we were going to win. And she was just devastated leaving. I think that was the biggest thing. Walking into that stadium knowing this is our show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that's the tough thing for Titans fans is they felt like, and they're watching it now, they're just like, I think a lot of them think, hey, we're better than Cincinnati and we lost that game. Like, it'd be easier to take if you lost to Kansas City or Buffalo in the AFC title game. Maybe you didn't. I mean, and you should respect Cincy because Cincy's legit good. That's a good football team that has done a lot of things this year. And if you remember what the Titans did 3 years ago, you can appreciate, what you're seeing the Bengals do right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's tough because it's Cincinnati, because it's not New England 5 years ago. It's not Kansas City. It's not Buffalo. You didn't get beat by one of those teams, which is why we're asking you, Chiefs or Bengals, who can you stomach winning more as a Titans fan? And are you watching? John, Scott, William, Trey. We go directly to the phones after this short break. We'll be right back. It's JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone, lifted up by All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville, allfourseasonsgarages.com. Go there, contact them, tell them you listen to JMart and Ramon. We'd appreciate that, first of all. They'll say, hey, so do we. And then say, I want the LiftMaster that JMart got put in his house. His very meager house is now better because of said garage door.
Meager.
Look, man, the coolest thing in the shot, if you're watching me, is not me. It's the actual original Dark Knight one sheet poster behind me that I've got leaned in to break up some of the glare coming in through the window here upstairs.
Hey, now.
Claim to fame. You played 11 years in the NFL. Well, I answered a question at the original screening for The Dark Knight after driving 2 hours in Charlotte to see it in IMAX, and the victory netted me this double-sided one sheet, which I then went and got framed for $15 from Walmart. Now it's stuck in that frame forever because I'm afraid what happens if I take it out of that frame because I didn't get it pro done at the time. But I never have a problem representing that movie. That's the coolest thing in this shot. The coolest thing in this house, I mean, outside of my wife and daughter, the LiftMaster that you can get from All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have one, Mo. You need to get yourself one.
I'm about to go get one as soon as I get this garage appraised. I mean, no, a quote on the new garage. That's all.
Appraised? It's
no,
$2 million,
appraised.
Mo.
Nah, not quite, but close.
Let's go. 615-737-1045. Poll question. Bengals, Chiefs. Who can you tolerate winning more if you're a Titans fan? Are you watching? Let's go to John. He's in the borough this morning. John, what's going on?
John has dropped.
Oh,
John
dropped.
Oh.
I guess he's not watching.
We got Scott, William, and Trey.
Scott. Okay. Nothing. It didn't update on me. Okay, let's go to Scott then. I'm not sure where Scott is, but Scott, you go right ahead.
I'm calling from Fort Campbell, buddy.
Hey.
Hey, good stuff.
Morning.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, so the parity in the NFL, that's what the playoffs is. And you know I'm watching. And I'm a Titans fan. Can't have it both ways. You win the Titans way, you lose the Titans way, and that's what happened on Saturday. So I actually called yesterday. I didn't want to get on the air, but I wonder if NFL players being creatures of habit, if playing on Saturday threw them off schedule. And as far as the poll question, I'm going with KC because I want to see my young bull Trey Smith get a ring.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
I'll take the comments off the air.
There we go.
That's an interesting point. Guys that you like, I wouldn't have thought it. I didn't think of Trey Smith, but obviously every time I see 65 do something good for the Chiefs, I'm excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Always happy to see it because we kind of predicted this was going to happen. It's good to see him and Jawan.
Yeah, for real.
Playing this weekend and really stepping up for San Francisco. So there's a couple of Vols that were overlooked a little bit that we all knew what they were capable of that are doing really big things in the NFL right now, and that's good to see.
Yeah, creatures of habit. I wouldn't go that far. That's an easy excuse to lean on as far as them playing on Saturdays. You got to think, though, also as far as you said, winning the Titans way, losing the Titans way, too. It's the idea that the Titans had to bye. So I don't think it mattered if you'd have played on Thursday before the game. This team should have been rested and ready to go, as far as that goes. And of course, if you're going to, bring up the Saturday thing, well, what is a Thursday? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm not knocking the question. I feel you. We're trying to find why this went that way for the team on the field. The fans, of course, is, still disappointed by it. It's just since he was better and they left time to a guy who threw the ball very well through the air to a receiver that really knew how to make a play. That's it. They had the ball last, essentially.
Well, man, that's what happened with Buffalo and Kansas City. If you squib it, maybe you don't have the opportunity, and we're talking about Buffalo and Cincinnati this weekend, but unfortunately it didn't go that way. And if you leave Mahomes 13 seconds, apparently that's too much to get him into field goal range, which is pretty amazing that there's a quarterback where 13 seconds still feels like too much. 2 minutes must feel like an eternity. Let's go to William in Nashville next. William, what's up?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good morning.
I was saying I cannot see Cincinnati or the Rams winning. I cannot.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand.
Yeah, I feel you. Cincinnati or the Rams. I think Cincy is one of those situations where, you can say it's a bit soon, but heck, Patrick won it in his second starting year in the league, third year as a total and whole. So I'll tell you what, as cocky as I don't know if I've seen the team be this brash about winning and making it to the AFC Championship as I have seen in Cincinnati. So that part, as far as not being able to stomach what's going to come your way if Cincinnati does make it to the Super Bowl after beating your team, the thoughts of, man, that should be us is going to resonate all off season, Jay.
Yeah. And no question. No doubt about that. Let's go to Trey in Nashville up next. Trey, what's up?
What's up, fellas?
What's going on, Trey? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, I gotta go with Kansas City.
Yeah.
I have to go with Kansas City, and it's only because Javarius Ward. Yep. He's from my neighborhood, man. So you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. He's from Macomb, Mississippi. I'm from Macomb, Mississippi. We grew up in the same neighborhood. I know his family. You know, so I gotta go with Travarius, man. You know, so you know it's more, you know, coming out of Mississippi, you know, doing what he's doing, you know, trying to make a better life. You know, Jeffrey Simmons and all those Mississippi guys. You know, Derek Thomas. I gotta go with Mississippi, so I gotta go with the Chiefs. And y'all have a good day, fellas.
You too. Appreciate your call, Trey.
Well, there you go. Look, again, there's a familiarity there. Somebody from a community. You never know. Look, like I said, you can choose. You can certainly cheer for Jawan and want to see the Rams go down.
Or Emmanuel Mosley.
Exactly right.
He's there too.
Yeah, that's right.
We're represented Vols so far. We'll see if we have another Vol in the Super Bowl this year.
You might. You definitely might. Tony the Stud. Haven't talked to him in a while. Tony, what's up?
Tony.
Hey.
Hey.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Hey. Doing well, man.
Man, I just wanted to chime in real quick, man. I want to make an argument and a point. The first thing that I want to do is, really, this is about the Titans and Ryan Tannehill. So the first thing I want to do is say to all those fans out there all year that were blasting me for taking the term relax and trying to throw it out the window, this is why. I haven't called in all week because I've just been depressed.
Man.
I've just been hurting because you just watched a 12-5 Titans team go half the season without your franchise player and get ousted in the first round at home. And that's why you can't relax, folks, because the Titans haven't won a Super Bowl yet. You can't relax unless you're Tom Brady. And really, you can't relax anyways. This league is unpredictable. You want to pick a team to win this weekend? Don't do it because it's so unpredictable right now that you just need to watch and enjoy it. I do want to say one thing about Ryan Tannehill. A lot of people talked about Todd Downing being a big issue with the play calling this week or this past weekend. I just want to say this, and I spoke about it throughout the season. I felt like Ryan has had a problem with reading progression and with his backside pressure, being able to feel that. And you saw that. If you watch that game back, you can see that on the tape. That backside pressure, when he makes quick decisions, when he feels something that he doesn't look. The guy in the corner said he stared down Julio Jones. If I'm look, I don't need to trade. I love Ryan Tannehill. I think he's a great quarterback. But what I do need to see, I want them coaching staff to get him back on his reads, back on his progressions, and let's run it back. Tighten up.
There it is.
Yep.
Tighten up.
Your thoughts on that, Moan?
Tannehill's progression is something that you got to look at. I was listening to Cosell yesterday on the on 3HL, and one thing that he brought up, because he's strictly film, he's going to tell you, he's not going to feed you any fluff, any of that, and that's one thing I appreciate about Cosell and listening to him, even when he does, stuff with other people at the station too, is that play that, the first play of the game, there was only one read on that. There was nothing to actually pull the safety away from that route in which that ball got intercepted on. So watching Bates break on that ball, he had no other threat. Now, again, everybody can say, man, that's on Tannehill. The other side of that is, let's talk about the concept of the play. How come there was nobody, putting pressure on the safety to get him off his mark so that you can make that play? Or the other ideal in which, people have even called in about, we've talked about also, is take the top off the defense. As far as that route goes, that play-action play goes, as far as balance to your offense. I know for sure we've gone into game. I did this with Bruce Arians, did this with Todd Haley for sure also, and Randy Finkner. We would go into games and say, first play of the game, going deep. Don't catch it, don't matter. We want them to honor that sequence all game long. So I'd love to have seen it, but if ifs and fifths, you know how the whole saying goes, then we'd be in a different situation. Now, who's to say how the game would have turned out anyhow if, they had completed that play or had taken it'd have been an incomplete. That gave a lot of momentum to Cincinnati on that first play. Tony's idea of, not relaxing, I'll say this too. The team never relaxes. The players never relax. You can't relax. Your job depends on it. I think from a fan base's mentality, whether you're, bragging and boasting about what you're going to do, I think that's that's the relaxed part about, being cautious about what your team is going to do. But since he played they had the ball last and they created the least turnovers, period. We talked about that in our scout meeting breakdown, Jay, when we talked about Cincinnati. If Cincinnati had more than one turnover, then they were losing the game. Well, you know who else had that tendency? The Titans. Now, the other part you got to look at, too, is the concept of that play is how often do the Titans go to that play action where if you see the receiver breaking down, like should it have been a stutter and go? As far as the route goes, like that's one thing about this league. They have people sitting in rooms watching and breaking down every piece of film that you can possibly imagine. They'll even go back. I remember playing a team. Let's say the team was Baltimore, but a coach came from Oakland. We were watching Oakland film from like 4 years ago to look at the tendencies of what they would do on defense. Like certain OCs and DCs, they don't switch up. They never switch up. And you got to be good enough to actually execute the plays and stuff like that. And which is what makes it come down to the players, the playmakers. But as far as coaches go, they stick with what they know for the most part. And I say there was negligence if, Todd Downing didn't break his tendencies on those plays. Play action, bam. If he's not over the top, then he's stopping right here. Bates was going to break on that regardless of who was at safety. Anybody's going to break on that play. So it's that one particular play because that took the air out of the stadium. Would you not say that, Jay, at that point? You were there.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, for sure. It got very loud on the opposite side from us because Cincinnati, there was a decent amount of orange in the upper deck, especially on the visitor side, and they got really loud, and that really hyped up the Bengals sideline. They started being a little bit more chesty than they were before the kick, where it was, all right, here's going to be a feeling out process. And that's what you expect, especially in a big game, is a feeling out process where you kind of settle into things. That was like a lightning bolt that electrocuted the Titans in the wrong way and just kind of fired up the Bengals on the opposite side. Like it's like a shot of caffeine into them, like a giant Red Bull or something like that they were able to kind of take from there. It definitely did feel that way because there were people around us that were like, oh no, not again.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of the sense. That said, they played their way back into the game. And I think the thing that I was most surprised by was I've seen the Titans do that in the third quarter so many times this year and with Tannehill at quarterback in general. When the momentum switched and Hooker made the interception, I thought they were going to win.
I did too.
Because those are games they always seem to find a way to win. I was actually shocked that they didn't win because when they start rolling in the second half, they can be a handful. We saw it on Thursday Night Football. That was probably the most recent example of it where it was terrible for the first half. They couldn't move the ball. They had like 5 yards of offense. That's the game I kept flipping back to. At halftime, I said, all right, let's wait until the third quarter because I saw what happened.
Right.
And again, what happened there? Well, you had the big turnover for Jackrabbit Jenkins in the end zone that stopped them from going up 2 touchdowns. But it all of a sudden was like, all right, now they're not scoring touchdowns. And because the Bengals kept kicking field goals, I just felt like all right, if Tennessee can get it together in the third quarter, they're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be okay. And they were.
Yep.
The interception that ended the game, that's the one you can't have.
Yeah.
The first play, you have 60 minutes to overcome that. Every
Mm-hmm.
turnover is magnified in a playoff game. That's very obvious. But you did overcome that. You overcame it, and then, well, the one at the end you couldn't overcome because that was the last time you touched the football.
Yep. I mean, to a T, I'm looking at the Cincinnati Bengals log right now as far as what they did, multiple turnovers. A bad Chicago Bears team, 4 turnovers, they lost. 2 turnovers in the Green Bay game, they lost. First time playing Cleveland Browns, 3 turnovers, they lost. LA Chargers, 4 turnovers, they lost. 2 turnovers against the 49ers, they lost. You know, in every single one of these 1 turnover games, they have actually won. You know, like that was the idea of this team, was the turnover battle, winning the turnover battle, making great plays and splash plays. I'm not even sure. Well, I guess the AJ touchdown was a chunk play. But how many chunk plays did the Titans actually have in this past game? That's one thing that's got to be stopped. Huh?
The Foreman run.
The Foreman run. Mm-hmm. They had another deep ball to A.J. Brown.
I would say about
they 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, about 3 at the most. But that's the thing with the turnover margin. Of course, nobody can turn the ball over consistently and win. But the way this team plays and that margin of error being that small anyway, we talked about the entire week prior to the game. Turnover margin. Yeah. That's the only stat in a lot of ways, aside from the final score, that mattered. And it was -2. And soon as it became -2, game over, baby.
And maybe the biggest play of the game, I understand the most like momentous was the final interception, but the biggest play of the game is probably Mike Hilton's play that shouldn't have ever happened because there was no reason to throw the football on first down after the Foreman run. I mean, they were chewing up the field. They might as well just be, all right, stop him. We're just going to keep handing the ball to 7. You hand him the ball 3 more times, I bet he's in the end zone.
Yep, I agree.
Instead, you threw it, and Mike Hilton was ready for it because he blitzes anyway.
Yep.
And bam, there he was, and he was able to make a play. And that was the momentum breaker when things had gotten back equal.
You know what's interesting here from guys that's been around the league, scouting the league, coaching the league too, is the Cosell conversation they had yesterday. They asked him some very piercing questions about, plays that were called and the decisions that were made in this game. And another thing that, they asked him yesterday on 3HL was, and it kind of pained me to hear him say this, but we've all kind of thought it. They asked him, can this offense win in this league? Meaning the Titans running style offense where you slow drag people, drag them through. Like I said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, the Titans say, you know what, we'll drown them. We'll make you drink anyway. That's been their philosophy for a long time. And as far as the run game goes, Cosell said this, no, I don't think it can work in this NFL if you want to win a championship.
See, that I was actually, I didn't hear that, but I was thinking about that a few minutes ago. I was like, the question I really want to ask Titans fans is down deep. Are you ready to see the Derrick Henry offense change a little bit? I asked that question yesterday to somebody and said, do we need to start focusing more in Tennessee on A.J. Brown and building the team around the quarterback-wide receiver relationship as opposed to 35 carries a game? Because eventually, if that doesn't work, it puts you in a spot where your quarterback's got to be otherworldly, and that's just not going to happen most of the time.
You know, the biggest question people have, Jay, listeners, why do y'all get to the tight red zone and to the goal line and decide you want to throw the ball? That's one of the biggest questions we always hear, right? Why don't you just go under center? There was 2 yards. You can run that in. Y'all, the new NFL in which teams know how to stop the run a little bit better, or you can commit to stopping the run way better than you can stop in the pass. That's the reason teams go 5 wide at the goal line now. You got more athletes. You got more targets to actually hit. You got more of a, hey, I can extend the play out. You saw on the 4th down run to Derrick. They handed it to him, and then the play was done.
Well, but let's also not have revisionist history, because the previous season, they were one of the top red zone efficiency offenses in the league.
No, I'm speaking in like overall offenses in general, as far as
And
like
offenses in general? Sure.
why you choose to go and throw the ball in the tight red zone.
And part of it is, and it's one thing that you've talked about, is why offensive coordinators and coaches choose that over-the-shoulder fade route in the end zone is because it comes down to the quarterback and one player making the play instead of having to depend on all 11 making the play.
Even though the percentage chance that works is very low.
But you know what other percentage you have on that fade route in the end zone is a PI, another set of downs. You know, like that's the other part of it. The cornerback doesn't get his head turned around and the receiver come back to the ball. That's a PI, first down again. Like that's why offensive coordinators choose to go for it. Now, again, the way Brady and his teams have run the quarterback sneak, it's a work of art. But it's harder to get those. Look at Josh Allen. You know, when they played here in Nashville. I mean, that was the fourth down quarterback sneak, and he got blowed up because Jeff straight up beat a man on the man right there. So, so that's the next question. That was very interesting in what Cosell said. He was like, no, he don't think this style of offense can win you a Super Bowl here in Nashville. Now, I might be away from his words exactly, but he basically said it's time to start changing the Tennessee Titans offense.
So let's throw that question out there then. Is that what you want to see? If you're a Titans fan, do you believe that? Have you seen enough of this kind of offense, or do you actually want to see them run back exactly what they just finished doing this past year? Because, hey, you only lost by the Bengals by 3 and you're 2 games away from winning a Super Bowl. If you got this close, and you've been, a couple of years ago, obviously you were close when you made it to the AFC Championship game. Do you want to see something change? And it doesn't necessarily mean the guy calling the plays changing. I mean the structure of the offense. Do you still want it to run? Do you still want to run the ball as often as you've been running it? Or do you believe what Cosell is saying there, that you would rather see them start to pass the ball more often, as most all the teams that are left standing right now, you're going to see them do a whole lot this weekend in the conference championship games. We'll take Two-Tone Fet's call and yours if you want at 615-737-1045. More next. JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Whole lot of phone calls. So if we don't get to you in this segment, we definitely will when we come back out of the top of the hour break. Kayla Anderson, News 2, will join us in about a half hour from right now. Let's start off with Two-Tone Fett this morning. Good morning, Fett.
Hey, brothers. How y'all doing this morning?
Doing well. Hope
Morning.
you are.
Hey, I have a few questions or comment and question for Ramon. Ramon, earlier you said that, like, in your, I guess, meetings when you were still playing, you guys took deep shots even at the beginning of the game, just to obviously, make the defense think about what you guys are going to do that day, but just to keep them honest as well. And we didn't see a lot of that from our Titans this year, but do you think a lot of that has to do with their type of philosophy and the way they operate, run heavy, so they're not going to, take those shots, those deep shots, during the game because they're more of a grinded out type of game or type of a team?
Yeah. Two-Tone, I definitely think that's a philosophy of Todd Downing's. And I also think it's a little bit of personnel, too. You got to think, what's that guy named? Marcus Johnson. He was a deep threat. You lost him at probably one of the worst times you could have possibly lost him. You didn't consistently have AJ and Julio. AJ and Julio route seems to have been comebacks and across the middle for the most part, unless you were like 40 yards in like this past weekend where he caught the deep shot. Like, AJ has the ability to go deep like that, but it seems like his comeback catches and the way he takes off allows this offense to just to stick in that box right there. And when it comes down to, I think when everybody goes one way, the Titans have stayed another way as far as the ground and pound game. And truth be told, it seems to be the idea that you do have Derrick Henry. And you don't do those things because of that, or you take the play action shots that may be a comeback or a long crossing route across the behind the safeties and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see what it's going to look like next year. I think that we'll get the answers to that next year, Fat, whenever it comes down to seeing what Todd Downing does with this offense. Again, I played for Bruce Arians, Todd Haley, and Randy Finkner. And you also had a quarterback that loved to go deep too. So I'll say this. If you see them either acquire or draft a speedy wide receiver to go down the sideline, which is what we always kind of had from Mike Wallace to Plexico to Martavis Bryant, you start naming guys, even Chase Claypool right now. You got guys that can go deep. And it may be more of a personnel, but I think it's really the identity of what Todd Downing has done, because I feel like Arthur didn't mind going deep, and he definitely did it this past year in Atlanta too.
Yeah. That makes all the sense in the world. Let's get one more in, and then after the break, we're going to get everybody else in. We got 6 calls. We got time. Let's go to Dante in Nashville next. Dante, what's up?
What's going on, fellas?
Hey.
Morning.
Hey, Ramon, I got a question for you, man. All right, so we're talking about this talking about this Titans offense, right?
Yeah.
Now, we watched Arthur make it work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, defense was mediocre. So that's my question to you, Ramon. Say that was your first year into your deal, right? You a Titan. You're playing guard for the Titans. That's the first year, was the year that we had Arthur, right?
Yep.
You come back the next year, right? Now, the defense is clicking, and Tannehill, and the offense, we're going to say the offense is working, right? So, man, going into year 3, first of all, how do you feel about your quarterback, and how do you feel about your offense as a player, knowing what we've seen up to this point?
Yeah. Number one, I would have to say, okay, we got to get on track. We got to find ways to get the ball into the playmaker's hand. And this is another thing, too, that comes down with what I thought this offense should have had at a certain point is I think the gap scheme where you pull in guards or you pull in both guard and tackle, I think would have been very beneficial for Derek in this offense. I know we have been in a position as far as the O-line in our room to say, hey, coach, we want to run these type of plays where you run in counter, where you run in gap scheme, where you have a fullback lead, because it caters to the personnel that you have. Like, we had a slow developing running back also as far as Le'Veon was concerned. So we would pull to let the hole open up if Dave was kicking out and we were like ensuring the front side. I think that's something, if the my personal opinion, Derek needs that in that offense because we see so many times to where Derek gets to the line of scrimmage and there's nowhere to go from because it's just mostly zone schemes. I think if you pull a guy, you have a fullback lead, you have a counter play for Derek. I think you get him to the edge, those plays work a whole lot more. So if it's me, I'm giving my insight on that. That's one thing I give Coach Munch a whole lot of credit on. What you guys want to run. What do you like running in this offense with this running back? Those are the type of things I would be asking if I was going into year 3 of my contract year with the Titans.
615-737-1045. Reg, Carl, Greg, Kobe, Brandon. If you're on hold, we're going to get to these headlines. As soon as we come back, we go right back to the phones. I want to get through as many of you as we possibly can, so we're not even going to talk. We're going right to the phones. You can line them up if you want at 615-737-1045, and Kayla Anderson will join us second segment. JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
8:03, good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Plenty of football news. The Pro Football Writers of America have selected Titans coach Mike Vrabel as their coach of the year. He could also win the AP NFL Coach of the Year award. That'll be handed out at the NFL Honor Show on February 10th. Two head coaching hires in the NFL. Chicago Bears have hired Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, and the Denver Broncos have hired Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Speaking of hirings, the Michigan Panthers of the revamped USFL, which is set to kick off this spring, has hired Jeff Fisher to be their head coach. After 18 seasons as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger has announced his retirement. To the ice, Edmonton Oilers defeated the Nashville Predators 3-2 in a shootout. UC Soros 44 saves in the loss. It ended the Predators' 3-game winning streak. To the hardwood, Lady Vols suffered their first SEC defeat of the season, losing at Auburn 71-61. On the men's side, Casey Alexander and the Belmont Bruins with a win over Austin Peay 75-67. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On your home with the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour number 3, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville, allfourseasonsgarages.com. Visit them, talk to them, step up your garage door game. Mon, what are you doing? What did you just do into the microphone?
Took a sip of this awesome coffee shake, got and went,
Awesome coffee shake. What coffee is that?
It's
Had Dunkin' Donuts delivered this morning.
Yeah. We just having a
so
ball
it's a party
without you.
over there, huh?
It is. It is, man.
About to log off the chat.
I knew that would get you. Oh.
Kayla Anderson will join us in the next segment from News 2, 615-737-1045. Said we get right to the phones. So let's get right to the phones. Reg is in Nashville. Go ahead, Reg.
Reg's just dropped.
We got Carl, Brandon, and I can't see the screen from over here. Kobe.
Let's go to Carl on the borough. Carl, what's up?
What's up, Carl?
Hey, what's up, guys? Morning, Ramon. Morning, Jay.
Morning.
Hey, just talking about changing up their play calls a little bit, go from less focus on Henry versus the pass game. I thought that's what they were going to do with Julio, but I didn't know he was a broken Julio. I thought that's what they were going to do. Instead of giving Henry 35 carries, they're going to bring him down to 20. He still get his yards, but for the play action to work, the West Coast offense is perfect for Tannehill. And what Ramon said about counter plays, I only played a little bit of junior college football, but I was a guard, and counter plays were my favorite thing because you can just decleat the guy that's coming across the line, open up a big hole for your running back. Any guard will say that's my favorite. Well, at least me, my personality that was my favorite play. It's I can just go ahead and just unload on somebody who's not expecting to open up a big hole for my running back, hopefully get a big play.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing about, had a couple callers talking about the play action, yada, yada. That only works if you throw the ball, too. You have to have balance on your offense to keep the defense unbalanced. And another thing that would help them, and everybody was talking about the AFC Championship game. Yeah, we had John Smith. And he is, to me, he's the biggest piece that we were missing for this type of offense to make anybody successful. They need that tight end. And we are limited in draft capital this year, but I would love them to give that Texas A&M tight end. He run blocks, and he passes, and he opens it up also. That's what we need. We need that security blanket like everybody else got. Kelsey, Little. We need that.
Yeah.
And that consistency is what we need, and that's another thing that hurt us is there was different offensive line and receivers every game. So, like I said to you guys on Monday, it's that he wasn't confident because he didn't know what he's going to have. But y'all have a good day. I'll listen to you guys out there.
Yeah. No, that's where if you talk to many around the game as far as Derek's running game, and yes, he's a stud. He's an all-world type. He's one of one at his position. Derrick Henry, but you also need to cater. Like, why? We used to say, why fight City Hall whenever you're playing the game? As far as let's do something that's actually going to work. And I would love to see more pulling from this offense. And I think that right there, like those pull plays, those counter plays, those gap scheme plays, they actually open up, I think, the play action a little bit more, because when you got moving parts and you got guys getting in space, and this is the thing about it, the Titans have a very athletic offensive line. I know they're ground and pound and beat you down type of offensive line, but this team is very capable of a pin and pull to where Rodgers out on the edge and making room for Derrick Henry, or whoever is in the backfield. That would be something. If it's me, I would explore more of when I got a running back that needs volume like a Derrick Henry is. Look, let's make this a little bit easier for him. I know he's an avatar, but golly, like they are gunning at him. Give him a little bit more room so he can break through, you know?
Yeah. Kobe in Richmond, Virginia. Kobe, what's up?
What's up, Kobe?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing this morning?
Good. We're good. Well. Good morning.
I called I think it was yesterday, about maybe we should change our philosophy of how we attack and move the ball. And I think the pulling guard or the pulling lineman philosophy does sound good, but I really do think that we should try to be more balanced as far as our air attack is concerned. Tannehill can throw the ball. He can throw the ball, and we got playmakers in Julio and AJ. I think we should try to look more into a tight end in the offseason, like a guy like Mike Gesicki from Miami. I think he really opens it up down the field for us, especially across the middle. But I really think that we should try and change our philosophy in this offseason about a better passing game, passing attack, just to open it up things for help Derrick Henry out, because this running Derrick 25, 30 times a game thing is just actually – it's career suicide for him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's not getting any younger, and his foot is compromised. So we have to be real about it. Like a metal plate and 5 screws, that would compromise a man. So I just think that we need to open it up more, get AJ involved, add some more pieces to the personnel, and that's really it. I just want to know your guys' thought about that as well. You know, I'm doubling down on the passing attack, you know, being more of a thing for our offense instead of ground and pound with Derrick Henry. You know, I know Derrick is a GOAT. You know, he's one of a kind type player. But at some point in time, we do need to help this guy out in order to expand our potential of what we can be as a team. Because time to take. You guys have a good morning. Thanks for taking my call again, and you'll probably hear from me soon. You guys have a good one.
Oh, no doubt.
What'd you say to that, Mo?
That's gonna be it moving forward. You know, like I think, and I hate to keep going back to this, you know, that this past game, because we're trying to get past that Cincinnati game. But I think if you look at the way those 9 sacks didn't matter because you were able to move the ball quickly through the air, to whereas the Titans have 1 or 2 philosophies for the most part. Like, have we seen Tannehill just strategically walk down the field and just pick apart, bam, 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 no huddle at the line of scrimmage, the way we've seen these other offenses do it, or run a whole play set of, you know, just strictly passes down the field? And I think for the most part, most of us would say no. Now, there might be a stretch or two down, you know, to where they did those types of things, but I'll say this, where it wasn't a present moment, where it wasn't like end of game, end of half. Like opening up as far as no huddle, Tannehill, ball in your court, go do the job. That's not their identity. But there's also one of the reasons in which you lose to, aside from the fact that, you know, the turnovers got you at the end. So I want to see that because the weapons are there. You do have the threat of Derrick. And I do think you need one fast wide receiver going down the sideline, and you also do need a tight end to those points, and being able to open that up, this offense, because you don't want the defense to go to waste after begging and complaining and just all the things we did last offseason about this defense, and they finally get right. That's where you're going to start to lose people more if you don't do something with this offense this next year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Brandon in Nashville. Brandon, what's going on?
Hey, good morning, guys. Probably going to say some stuff that's not very popular for Titans fans, but Todd Downing stays, Ryan Tannehill stays. You keep doing. You have a formula that works. The issue, Jason, you said it before the playoffs began. Whoever wins the turnover battle will win the Super Bowl. Well, a week later, we're looking at 3 turnovers last week against Cincinnati, and we're sitting at home this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think you shore that up for one thing, because you have a ground attack that neutralizes these gunslingers in the AFC. I think that works. Now, in order to work, you can't turn the ball over, because then those turnovers are going to be a byproduct of less possessions. You're already going to have less possessions because of your philosophies on offense. So when you do that, you're already putting your offense and your defense behind the 8 ball. Take those. You win the turnover battle, you win the game. You win the game. And because look what the defense did to Cincinnati last week.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most high-power offenses in the league. How many touchdowns did they give up last week?
1.
1?
Yep.
1. 3 turnovers and a defense that gives up 1 touchdown. And I've got people out here calling for Todd Downing and Ryan Tannehill out of town. No, no, absolutely not. You get back, you get everybody healthy. Ramon, like you said, you get somebody that can take the top off the defense, you get a right tackle, and you get a tight end, and you run this thing back again. You run it back. And I'm going to tell you, and I will say that at the top of the mountain, and anybody else, I know it's not going to be it's not going to be popular. But Tannehill's my quarterback, and Todd Downing, he's got to look himself in the mirror too, though. He has to improve, and I think he knows that. He's a professional. But you have the best running back in the game. You have the best pass rush. That's top 5 pass rush in the league right now. Why are we trying to overreact and go and get let's go get Russell Wilson. Let's go get Aaron Rodgers. No. We have a formula that works. It all comes down to execution, though. And that's what it is. It was a lack of execution in key moments, and that's just the game. The AFC was so just log jammed that the margin of error was even less than it has been in previous years. And one play literally can change the outcome of a game.
Yeah.
Hold on to the daggum ball, and we win next year. Point blank. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. Solid call.
All right. I mean, yeah, turnovers are going to tell the story. You've had 2 seasons in a row that have ended on Ryan Tannehill interceptions. So if you're riding with him, just understand that his story has been told in the playoffs by turning the football over and that being the end of your year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's going to happen to a lot of other quarterbacks that are good too. That's not to say that he can't play or that you couldn't possibly win with him. Question is, what's your margin for error? We'll talk to Kayla Anderson on the other side, get her thoughts on Tannehill, just her thoughts after she's had about a week to think about the loss last Saturday and what it means. All that's next. JMart, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
It's a new year, and if a new vehicle is in your future, let me tell you about the Built For You program at Two Rivers Ford. Here's how it works. You can order any Ford in any color with any available features, and Two Rivers Ford will order it for you and have it delivered right to your door when it gets manufactured. That's pretty cool. So when you think about your car being manufactured in Detroit, it'll come straight to your house with your name on it. Well, you can name it. Sort of like the Ramon Foster Badlands Bronco and Cyber Orange. That is actually on my list. I'd love to have that one. But they also have new vehicles arriving almost every single day. So keep checking TwoRiversFord.com. They have one of the largest selections in the state. Also, if you want someone at Two Rivers Ford to contact you to be on the lookout for a vehicle that you want and alert you when it comes in, just give them a shout and they'll make sure you get a heads up about that. The salespeople at Two Rivers Ford, they don't work on commission, so you never have to worry about them pressuring you. They're there simply to help make the process as easy as possible for you. And I couldn't talk about Two Rivers Ford without reminding you they are a local business and they've been right here in our community since 1983. And my friends, you know, a business that's been locally owned for almost 40 years is going to treat their customers right. So for all things Ford, reach out to the most trusted Ford dealer around, my friends at Two Rivers Ford. to Rivers Ford. Powered by Ford, driven by people.
Welcome back, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Glad to be with you. Finishing up another week. Conference championship games are this weekend. Unfortunately, one not going to be played in Nashville. We hate to keep bringing that up, but unfortunately, you're going to see it for yourself on Sunday. The game's being played in Arrowhead instead of them being here, which could have been the case, but the Bengals, got it done. Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Jason Martin, at JMart and Ramon. Follow Ramon at Ramon Foster, at JMart Radio, at Schaefer on Sports. Guests on the program via the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline include from News 2, our friend Kayla Anderson. Kayla, good morning.
Morning. I just took a shot of celery juice just to get going for you guys this morning.
Excellent.
Let's go.
Tell me about really, is celery juice a thing? I love celery, but I'd never heard of celery juice until 2 seconds ago.
It's a thing. After the last week, I needed to clean out the system. That's what it does it for you. Celery juice does it.
All right. So it's been 6 days since whatever it was that took place at Nissan Stadium there. How are you feeling now? Like, what kind of thoughts have you had over the last handful of days as you've been able to sort of process everything that happened and start to figure out what this team is going to do next?
Yeah, well, it's definitely been an interesting past 6 days just for the fact that I think that we all were kind of on the same page in terms of them winning that game and at least being able to host their first ever AFC championship game here in Nashville. And what's so hard about being a fan and then also being a media member that covers a team every day of the season, when it happens and it ends that soon and sudden, you kind of feel lost for a minute. And as a person who's covered the Titans literally almost every day since the start of training camp, it was like one of those things where I had to be like, okay, the season is really over. And now you have to start moving forward to like, okay, what is next for the Titans? What are the moves that they're going to have to make in the off season? What are the salary cap issues that they're going to have to deal with? And there's really no time to digest what just happened throughout an entire season, which was really wild and, full of adversity for those guys. So for me, it was first kind of talking with the fans and just hearing them grieve in a way and understanding what they're going through because it is their team. And it did happen so soon, but also recognizing the fact that they did do a lot of good things this season. Hence why Mike Vrabel was named yesterday the Pro Football Writers of America NFL Coach of the Year, because they had done so many good things. But now, unfortunately, it's in the past and you have to look forward. And guys, this team has a lot of work to do in the offseason, a lot of choices to make, and none of them are easy.
So where are you on the Ryan Tannehill and Todd Downing? I guess you could call it slander, but a lot of people certainly have had plenty to say about those two gentlemen since Saturday. As you've had time to think about that, what's fair, what's unfair?
Yeah, I think that it's fair for fans to be frustrated with Ryan Tannehill because, look, when he came in, he did what he needed to do. And I think during the regular season, he's been pretty good for the Titans. And he, in a way, I think has helped balance things out on offense. I mean, you cannot forget about last year, what they did offensively, the numbers that they put up. And it was really a complementary piece there with Derrick Henry and Ryan. I think they really worked well together and complemented that offense to be able to do what they did. But then this year, with all the adversity that surrounded this team, losing Derrick Henry, having to pull up guys from the practice squad, the offensive line going in and out because of injuries throughout the entire season, it definitely digressed Ryan a little, and I think he, gets a lot of the blame. But I think rightfully so, when you get to the playoffs, you have your guys back. You've been working with some of these guys like Julio Jones a little more. You have A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry's back. Besides that, you have a running game, right? I mean, you have Deontay Foreman, who's been spectacular, just stepping in. And then you do what you did and throw 3 interceptions. And I'm not saying every single one of them were on him. I think the Bengals defense did do some really good things. But, you have to say, okay, well, in a way, he's the quarterback. He's got to take the blame for it. I kind of had a little bit of an issue after the game with him really not putting any of it on him. he kind of skirted around not saying, hey, guys, this is on me, or hey, guys, I take blame for a lot of this. And then on Monday, just not speaking to the media at all. I have a little bit of an issue with that, and I think fans are justified to feel that way too. Now, do I think it's all Ryan Tannehill's fault? Absolutely not, guys. I think Todd Downing is not the most creative offensive coordinator, especially compared to Arthur Smith. I do think Arthur and Ryan worked really well together. It's almost like a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it's not all there, it's not all there, and you can tell. And I just don't know if that pairing is going to be the answer moving forward. Maybe they're both back next year. In my opinion, though, you have to have someone come in to push someone. Who that is, I don't know. But I think there's got to be something that's tweaked offensively next season.
Kayla, you hit on something that I was going to ask you directly right here. It's the idea. Well, you said I'm a media member. Also, it's the end of the season. Also, there was only one offensive player for the Titans to speak this week. As far as the coverage of your job and our job, and honestly, the perception of that offense this year. Was that a drop in the ball moment for this team as far as saying, look, we'll at least be better? The fact that Ryan didn't speak to the media and you left the only guy that had what we like to say is a good game as far as skill position, AJ, to speak for this offense. Yeah. Where are you at on that?
I have a little bit of issue with it. And look, I honestly telling you, like covering this team over the last 5 seasons, I seriously have respect for every single one of those guys. I've never covered a team this big for 5 seasons, and there's not really ever a problem I have with anybody. I mean, every one of those players has been extremely respectful, really for the most part, fine to work with. Everybody can have their days, right? Not everyone's going to have a great game, and not everyone's going to give you the perfect answer, but I respect every single one of those guys. So with saying that, though, I did have a bit of a problem with not anybody but A.J. Brown talking on Monday, just for the sheer fact that, remember, this is like our job. Like, this is our job to filter what the players are saying, what the players, are trying to conclude about that game and conclude about the season, and filtering that to the fans. And when we don't have the opportunity to talk to any of the offensive players except for A.J. Brown, we are not able to do our jobs in that way. And I think it just does the fans a disjustice, because guess what? Now we don't get to talk to any of those guys for a while. And that's my biggest thing. I think because there's such a gap now between now and the next time that they're going to be available, it's just a lot of stewing and a lot of, okay, what now is going to happen, when we really could have just gotten maybe a few more answers for the fans. I think that's the biggest issue I have. I'm not going to make it personal, but I'm just saying I think it does the fans a little bit of disjustice with that.
But no, that's the point, though, right there, Kayla, is the fact that, look, this fan base was called to come, and they did. They showed up. They supported from the pep rally, from the raise in ticket price this past week. I had people, telling me this is the highest they've seen tickets be, even at face value. So for that to be the case, and whether it was COVID that kind of stopped media from going in the locker room, or the idea that somebody's got to kind of own up to it, and it's not the guy that had a monstrous game this past weekend. So with that, and I'm not saying Ryan's not a big time leader, because he's proven to be that. But between him and just other veterans on this team, if you're going to go to the podium before the game, you'd have to say, look, write your own narrative, because if you leave it to us, then we're going to say, hey, Todd doesn't deserve to be here. Ryan Tannehill's not the guy. There was no reassurance on the idea that you're going to be better next year, because they didn't, right, Kayla?
Yeah, you said it right on, Ramon, because here's the thing. When as a player, right, after a game, there's so many emotions that are going through your head. You're kind of clouded in a way. And I'm a competitor. I've played sports. Like, I've competed. And that's happened to me before, where after something like that has happened and it maybe hasn't gone my way, or I'm really PO'd off myself for not doing what I needed to do, things are clouded in my head. And sometimes I'm not going to be able to say the right things. Sometimes I'm not going to say things at all. And I'm not going to give answers. And so, unfortunately, that's what happens in a game like that, when things happen so suddenly. And I'm not going to blame anybody for that, because I'd be the same way. But that's why you give them a day to cool off. and then you're able to talk a day later where things are a little more clear. You maybe have some more answers, and maybe you don't have every answer, but you can give a little bit more of an explanation. And that's what's been tough too, guys, because of COVID. I mean, I haven't been in a locker room in 2 years.
Right.
And that's really a place where it's our responsibility to go ask those tough questions, to go approach those guys. That's why we build trust with them, so they can trust us and talk to us and give us answers. And we can't really do that right now because, they're not there. They're not at the fence line. They chose not to come. We can't kind of go up to them and make them talk. And so it's a really it's a bummer situation, and I hope this changes in the future because, again, it all comes back to it's about the fans, people. It's not about us. It's about the fans and them getting the explanations that they need because they're the ones supporting you and they're the ones spending the money.
What do you take, Kayla, from Vrabel's answer Monday to, I think it was Tehran's question about Tannehill being QB1 and him not really talking about the play on the field at all? Talking about like leadership and just kind of mewing mouth and saying we've got to play great around him, which is something I've always said about guys that I'm not necessarily sold on. Everything's got to be A1 around him and then he can win a Super Bowl. It's like, yeah, well, just about anybody that's got any modicum of talent at all can do that if everything's perfect around them. So what did you think of his answer? Did you see that as an endorsement or maybe said more than he wanted to, even though he didn't mean to?
Yeah, that's it. And that's an interesting point because what's interesting about Vrabel in general is he's going to talk about some players the way he wants to talk about them. Sometimes he's a little bit more detailed with certain players he talks about. Other players he kind of doesn't like to say much about, or I'm not going to say it's protecting them, but he just doesn't go there, right? I mean, the same thing you could say about Julio Jones. He just doesn't really go there when we ask about Julio. But when Tehran asked about Ryan and kind of getting just a sense of what they're thinking moving forward, is the first thing he talks about is leadership. And that's a given. Like, you talk to any single player in that locker room and they think that Ryan Tannehill is a leader. That's not anything that we are questioning. That's not at all. But the thing that we're questioning now is he the right guy moving forward if you want to win a Super Bowl? Because when it's all said and done, that's all that matters. And if you cannot elevate your play in a postseason, then how are you expected to get that done, regardless of what's around you and a defense that was just flat out balling? Like, I mean, that's what's so disappointing about the entire thing. So if you can't do that and that individual maybe can't get to that level, what do you do moving forward? And I just don't think he gave us any type of answer. So there's a lot of things that we can go to now. That's why, again, you want Ryan Tannehill to talk as well. And you want to know what he's going to do in the offseason to elevate his play, to clean up the turnovers. Was something going on this year that we didn't know about that maybe affected his play on the field? These are all questions we don't have answers to, and now we're going to stew on them. And so that's what makes it all.
I know, and one thing we don't have an answer on right now, too, is, we brought up this conversation topic at the end of the 7th hour was this. How much do you want to see this offense change as far as 22 being the focal point of it, Kayla? Because I think that's what kind of, put people in a bad feel about this last game is you give Derek 20 reps and he's, 60 yards, but also you have 9 sacks defensively and you have a guy that can, spin the ball through the air and get his team in a field goal winning position.
Yeah.
Where are you at as far as saying, I love you, Derek, but we got to find other ways to move this offense? Are you there yet?
I don't know if I'm there quite yet. Now, the reason why I say that is because I just know how much the identity of this team is based around Derrick Henry, and they've had success. Clearly they've had success, and they've had success in the postseason at times when Derrick was 100% healthy. I think we're all forgetting sometimes that Derrick just returned from a major injury that he's never, ever, ever dealt with before in his entire football career. It's more than a physical thing, guys. I know that he wasn't cutting. I know he was going to the left, but that's a mental thing, and that's going to take time to get over. And sometimes it's not going to happen when you bounce right back and you're in a major playoff game in front of your entire, home crowd and there's so much pressure on you returning. I just don't think that was really reality for us to think that he was going to go run for 100 plus yards. Right. And so I think we got to still give him an opportunity next season to prove that he can get back to being the old Derrick Henry. Maybe he doesn't. But what I will say, guys, is you have to start planning for the future. And we know what this league is. It's all about the quarterback. Yeah. It's all about the quarterback, what they can do. Look at how young these guys are. We've got the old regime now retiring with Ben Roethlisberger, probably Tom Brady soon, and followed by Aaron Rodgers soon after that. And it's all about the newbies. And so eventually you're going to have to start going in that direction and looking into the future. That's why I don't think it's really going to be crazy if they draft a quarterback at some point here soon, maybe even this next year if they find somebody they like. I don't think this QB class is great, but if they like somebody and they see them fitting, don't put it past them.
Yeah. I asked that question to Coach Mack yesterday. I wasn't necessarily expecting too deep an answer at this point, but this quarterback draft isn't necessarily the one where if you're the number one pick, you necessarily want it. But what if you're in the 20s, Kayla? At that point in time, you're actually going to have the opportunity to take probably one of the three best quarterbacks in this class. And who knows? Sure. I mean, there have been guys that have been taken late in drafts that have obviously the Tom Brady example, the Russell Wilson example, the Dak Prescott example. There's guys that you can find. So do you consider it? I know you need other things. You need a tight end. There's some other things that you might need, but getting a guy in the first round, what do you think the response from Titans fans would be to that decision, and how would that affect Tannehill?
Yeah, I think it would be probably a mixed bag, but probably if they like who it is. Unfortunately, it's all about the hype, right? And you got to kind of wait to see what these guys do. So I could see if it's a name that people like, there would be a lot of excitement around that, especially because when you draft a quarterback compared to some of the choices that the Titans have made in the past several years, and some of them have been good choices, others have not. But they've never been really the sexy pick in the draft, right? So if you draft a quarterback, that's always a sexy pick, and fans are excited. But let's halt the brakes a little. You got to really make sure that this is going to work out in the future. But I think that's what the Titans have their work cut out for, because they're really going to have to see if any of these guys would fit in. And that's the biggest thing with this Titans team. Has to fit into the culture. Hands down, has to be a fit, because we know what this team is based around. And that's why, again, they've been so successful under Mike Vrabel. Yeah. And so if they find that quarterback that fits, I could see them doing that and fans being happy. And I could also see it being a thing where, any kind of competition always brings other people's competitive levels up. I don't think it's a bad thing to have somebody behind Tannehill next year, even if they brought in a backup that could push him a little bit, just for some friendly competition, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was hoping I'm sure we were all hoping we were going to have a different conversation and previewing a game this weekend, but unfortunately this is the world in which we live, Kayla, and like 31 other fan bases, this is the conversation that's going to be had at least once over the next month or so. So we appreciate it. You were off the charts great today. We really we thank you for the time.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Miss you guys. Hopefully back seeing you in studio sometime soon, right?
Please. Indeed.
We need some more champagne and donuts.
That's your thing.
Was that wasn't real, was it? Was that real? Was that you?
Oh my God!
Schaefer,
that was.
What? I didn't. I have
not
played anything from the soundboard from Kayla
now
at
Ramon's
all.
just tripping. He's tripping.
Because I know it sounds like you because it's you, but it was really you that time.
Oh, I love it. You guys can't tell the difference anymore. That's fantastic. By the way, this entire interview was from like 3 days ago that you don't remember.
Yep. We pre-recorded.
Thank you. What's today's date?
Guys.
Yeah. I don't even know if that was real. It's JMart and Ramon. That's the name of the show. 615-737-1045. We can just do a soundboard and go back to sleep.
We could.
Might be better. Our greatest hits might be better than our current standing.
Wow.
No, we got a new album coming out.
It's called 22.
We're not like Snoop. We actually are pretty good after the first one.
It's called 807.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Tots and pears.
I just threw it out there. 615-737-1045. A lot we can talk about from that conversation with Kayla Anderson. We'll jump into that. Any thoughts that you have? Again, Bengals Chiefs. Who can you stand to see win on Sunday? And are you watching? We'll be right back. JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
Imagine if the first way we did things was the only way because somebody told you, look, son, that's the way we've always done it. Well, that's what happens when it comes to selling your home. You list it and you got to keep it show ready because you never know when somebody want to come through for a quick look. Or you have dozens of people marching through your home that may or may not be serious about buying it. And this goes on and on and on until the right buyer comes along. Well, now that's all ended. And it's Ramon Foster. And I want to tell you what I did. I went to opendoor.com and I put in my address and some home info. And I got an offer back in no time, straight to my email. It was no listings, no strangers, and no stress. Open Door gives you a real competitive offer in minutes. Just go to opendoor.com/WGFX and get your free offer. Open Door is a new way to sell without all the hassles of a traditional home selling. You'll know exactly what you're getting, and the best part is you can close whenever you want to. Go to opendoor.com/WGFX and get your free offer today. That's opendoor.com/WGFX. Offer eligibility varies, and Open Door is represented by Open Door Brokerage, Inc. License 02061130 in California, Open Door Brokerage LLC in its other markets.
Welcome back, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. If you missed Kayla Anderson, that's one of the best hits she's ever done with us. Just tremendous stuff. If you missed it, podcast it wherever you get your podcasts. Let's go to John in Boston, Massachusetts before we get to the top of the hour. John, what's going on?
What's up, John?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing today?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning. So I'm kind of starting to get over the fact that that Tannehill and Downing are going to be back. So moving forward, I would like to kind of see them get creative like you guys are talking about. And my problem was late in the game, A.J. Brown only had a few touches, and he clearly was the best player, in the game that day. Why don't you think they may start looking at utilizing him in the backfield more, kind of like the Niners did with Deebo Samuel, and, it made them, change their offense completely. And we all know, Jimmy G has, he's limited with his abilities as well. So I was just thinking, what are you guys' thoughts on that? And someone mentioned Jonnu Smith, and I can assure you the people in New England can't stand Jonnu Smith up here, and they think he's a huge bust up here and a free agent signing. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
You know what? It's that old fling back, as far as Jonnu goes. And that's forever going to be one of those situations like we wish. The idea with, Tannehill versus Garoppolo. Garoppolo, they have a lot of tools in friggin' San Francisco. Deebo Samuels is a very special talent. Being able to transition from wide receiver to friggin' running back, and truth be told, I think they left off the second team All-Pro because Deebo Samuels could have actually gotten that one. So, Jay, you brought up this point immediately after the game. The Titans don't necessarily need to revamp everything. They need more playmakers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest about that. That's the separator, I think, between Jimmy G and what Tannehill has. Not saying the Titans don't have it, but you look at that roster, you're like, yep, I take him, I take that person, I take that person, I take that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of the separators right there as far as protecting Ryan.
For sure. Absolutely. I mean, again, I don't want good players. I want game changers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need 53 of them because that's not rational. That's not possible. But I need enough on offense, and I kind of need my quarterback to be one of them. If San Francisco proves this, they're going to be the aberration because Garoppolo, to me, is not good enough. But he does have studs all around him. He's got a lot of they are loaded up on skill position talent. And you look at Tennessee, you're like, well, so are we. We've got A.J. Brown. We've got Julio Jones. First off, I don't know that I'd talk about the second guy. And then Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a different kind of star because for Derrick Henry to be Derrick Henry, you have to commit a large part of your offense to what he's doing. And that's one of the things that we talked about this morning is it time to change a little bit of that philosophy so that you're less reliant on Derrick Henry's touches and instead have more guys available. That's where you look at a Jonnu Smith and say, well, what could he have done?
Yep.
Because he didn't do anything for New England. Doesn't mean he wouldn't have done anything here, but it seems to me, and we've discussed this, and we'll do it after. We'll get back into it after the headlines. Seems to me that whoever the tight end wasn't going to be a focus of this offense.
Yeah.
Like, Ferkser's wide open on the play that Tannehill ends up throwing the final interception on. It's like he wasn't even looking for Ferkser because Ferkser's not one of the progressions. It almost seemed like he wasn't even out there. That's why I joked on Monday. I said, did Ferkser play?
Sure.
Because even though he emerged a little bit in the final regular season game, he was barely heard from during the year, except for a drop here and there, or not being where he needed to be, or giving up a sack, or something like that. Like, the tight end needs to become more a part of the offense.
Let me throw this in there, just because of the major protection issues due to injury and other factors Tannehill had earlier in the season. How much of the role of the tight end got changed because they had to change protection for the offensive line to keep Tannehill upright?
Well, I mean, they had to do that last year too, Shafe, with Jonnu. Like, you can look at the fact that he barely had, or he didn't quite have 500 yards receiving, even though he started out blazing hot, and it was because he had to stay in to chip. So then that goes back to, how about this as we go to break? The Isaiah Wilson pick continuing to pay dividends for this organization, still chasing that pick today. JMart and Ramon, 4th hour's next here on The Zone.
4 teams remain in the NFL playoffs, and that means only 4 teams left for you to bet on at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down the Super Bowl, 56 new customers can get 56-1 odds on any team. You bet $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. And if you're not a new customer, no problem at all. You can experience the conference championships with same-game parlays, and we know what that means. Combining multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. And the thing about DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want it. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code WGFX and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. You bet $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. But use the promo code WGFX for 56-1 odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And you must be 21 years or older and present in Tennessee to bet. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you're someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Pro Football Writers of America have selected Titans coach Mike Vrabel as Coach of the Year. He could still win the AP NFL Coach of the Year award. That'll be handed out at the NFL Honor Show on February 10th. 2 head coaching vacancies in the NFL now filled. The Chicago Bears have hired Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus as their head coach. Denver Broncos have hired Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. The Michigan Panthers, ever heard of them? Well, you are now. They are of the USFL that is revamped and will relaunch this spring. Michigan Panthers have hired Jeff Fisher to be their head coach. After 18 seasons as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger has announced his retirement. To the ice, the Oilers defeated the Predators 3-2 in a shootout in Edmonton last night. UC Saros' 44 saves. The loss ended the Predators' 3-game winning streak. To college basketball, on the men's side, Belmont defeated Austin Peay yesterday 75-67. On the women's side, Lady Vols suffered their first SEC defeat of the season, losing at Auburn 71-61. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? 4th hour, hashtag fastest 4 hours in radio. Upon you, upon us, plus to bring it to you courtesy of All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville, allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. Go there to learn more. 615-737-1045. If you'd like to join the program, and joining the program means joining 11-year NFL veteran Vol for life, Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, and Jason Martin. At Ramon Foster, at Schaefer on Sports, at JMart Radio, at JMart and Ramon. Wide open this hour. So what happened to Dan Quinn being the hottest candidate? He's got a staff all picked out, and he's been ready for this gig.
Why are you dunking on Dan?
He's going back to Dallas as defensive coordinator.
Why are you dunking on Dan? What are you doing? He didn't get hired by your team. Leave Dan alone.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious. Like all these open jobs, there's still like 6-7 open jobs, and Dan Quinn is like, I'm going back to Dallas.
Yeah.
So what does he know that we don't know, other than Mike McCarthy's not secure down there?
I'd say what he don't know, or what we know probably is his agent had good press. You know, like that's what that was. I don't really think anybody was overly hype about the idea that Dan Quinn was going to be a monstrous hire as far as a head coach goes. That's the reason they were throwing in the staff's conversation. You know, like that's the job right there for sure in Denver that we thought he would have had. And then he turns down the Jacksonville even interview because he was waiting on his offensive coordinator to get that job. And again, Dallas situation is still very volatile to me. I don't know if McCarthy's going to be it. I have no idea what they're going to do, but I guarantee you McCarthy is feeling very antsy with the fact that Sean Payton is out there and everybody's always said he's going to be the guy to take over Dallas next. And also looking at this coaching carousel, look at what Jacksonville has done. I went from yesterday being happy for Byron Leftwich potentially getting that job, and he's not on the same page with their ownership as far as who's going to be his GM. You know, I think it's between Balky and he wanted Adrian Wilson, I think, from Arizona. Mm-hmm. This coaching search stuff is pretty wild, man. Again, Jay, I think you're a little satisfied with Quinn not being without Quinn being the head coach of the Denver Broncos.
I just think there's some guys that are better coordinators. And I mean, I know Dan Quinn went to a Super Bowl, but then after that, he did almost nothing else. I'm happier that it's Nathaniel Hackett. Not because of the possibility of Aaron Rodgers or whatever like that, but just because from everything that I read, and Coach Mack sent me an article from Jeff Legwold yesterday, it seems to me that Nathaniel Hackett's a good choice, and he's an offensive guy. Only what? And the one problem you do have with a new head coach is just, at least in Denver, other than Mike Shanahan, none of them have lasted 3 years. Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio lasted 3. No, more than 3, I should say.
Jeez.
Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio, Josh McDaniels, all those guys were out relatively quickly. So Hackett would be breaking the mold if he pulled it off, because the guys that have won are, John Fox, and guys like that.
Look
it's been different.
Yeah, and also look at the makeup of what Denver is right now. You had to go offensive. With all of that talent they have on that team, they got a young rookie quarterback that you expect is going to be a whole lot better in year 2. The receiving core is really good. I say pretty, really good. It's really good. The tight end, Noah Fant, you'd expect that he's still going to be there, right, Jay? So this,
look, if you're getting Aaron Rodgers, then you're giving up talent.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. If they make that deal, if Green Bay is willing to make him happy and send him to Denver if that's where he wants to go, then you're probably giving up some real talent there. Like you might have to give up Surtain. You might have to give up a receiver because, well, here's the thing. If you lose Aaron Rodgers, you're going to lose Devontae Adams. If you lose Devontae Adams, then you've got to get a receiver back, and that's a good place to get it from because there's so much wide receiving talent in Denver right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem is you can give up first-round draft picks, but you're also going to have to give up athletes. You're going to have to give up guys because Green Bay's got to have something left behind if there's going to be a mass exodus. There's already, look, his OC's gone. Quarterback's coach is probably coming with Hackett to Denver to become the OC. If you lose Aaron, then you lose Devontae, and now you're really starting to pull. And now we got to find out if Matt LaFleur can coach or not. Like if he were able to continue things going after that, then he would definitely be a coach of the year because you wouldn't have the Aaron Rodgers excuse with which to potentially take some of his credit away. So that to me is that's what's going to be interesting about this is where the dominoes stop. If indeed Rodgers comes to Denver, where do the dominoes stop and what does he walk into and lose immediately because his presence means that other guys have to leave to go back to Green Bay. That's going to be fascinating to watch. Let's go to Kerry in Shelbyville. Kerry, what's going on?
Yes, I was wanting to talk about how they don't make adjustments as good in games.
Mm-hmm.
It's like from the first game of the year against the Cardinals, you seen Lawan was getting blowed out. Anybody on the outside of him, why not move a tight end over there just to kind of chill to give Lawan a chance to get out there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like in the championship, in this last game, they ran Derrick Henry too much and ignored Foreman when he was running better.
Yeah.
Henry still wasn't in time with the line and everything. I just don't think the adjustments were made right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's always going to be the case. And this ain't Todd Downing's first go at it, but it's his first time with this team. And I told you guys, I said this to somebody as far as, them catering to the crowd and to the idea that Derek was going to leave that field with a win and also as the hero of it all. And I don't blame him. I get it, But if you're smart and you know how to make hard decisions, the same way Saban ended up benching, Hurts for Tua, like it's okay to make those decisions. And it's not taken away from the idea that you still have a star because Jalen Hurts is a starter in the league. It seems to be a better pro than what Tua was or what Tua is going to be in Miami. But those are decisions that have to be made. And again, it's Todd's first show at it here in Nashville. It seems to be Vrabel's giving the vote of confidence that he's the guy for next year. But his decision-making is going to be challenged next year. Also, his variety in which they call this offense moving forward is going to be challenged too.
To the Derrick Henry point, it's easy to say now in hindsight, but there is something to be said for the continuity of a team. Trying to mix Derrick Henry back in, it's like you can't stop him from coming back because he's Derrick Henry. But I don't know that you wouldn't have been better off if he hadn't come back. This year, not next year, this year, not even because of his health or what he was able to do, but because you then had to figure out, well, how is this going to work? And how many carries does Foreman get here? And where does Hilliard fit in? And do we reset the offense again? Because we've gotten used to doing it a different way a little bit right now. It's not the same thing as the Orlando Magic benching Rafer Alston the year they made it to the NBA Finals because Jameer Nelson, who had been out for almost a whole year, came back.
Right.
That was a horrifying mistake, I thought, by Van Gundy and cost them any chance of winning that series when maybe because they were on fire when Alston was there. I do think that if Derek had shut it down, if we had just found out he had shut it down
Yeah.
a couple weeks before the end of the regular season, I'm not so sure that things wouldn't have gone differently, potentially. Not because I thought Foreman was just far superior to Henry, but because you made an alteration, a massive alteration to what you had gotten used to doing in the last couple of seasons in a one and done scenario.
Yeah.
And even if it takes you 3 quarters to figure out that balance, that might be 3 quarters that you don't have. That might mean that your season comes to an end during the fourth quarter. 615-737-1045. 737-1045. I see Tony and Scotty on the line. We'll get to your calls and more when we come back. JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
Baker Burwell is the disability brokerage financial professionals can count on to deliver disability insurance, education, products, and services. What is your most valuable asset? Your home? Think again. It is your income. And it may sound crazy, but let me explain it to you. Say you make about $150,000 a year and you're 35 years old. Even if you never get a pay raise, you'll make $4.5 million in your working lifetime. And I'm guessing your house is a little bit less than $4.5 million, even in this Nashville housing market. As a former pro athlete, it wasn't a thought about insuring my income or my career. We just go. And I'm sure that's the same thing that applies to you. But have you considered what would happen if you couldn't continue your career due to health or injury? For 2 or 3% of your income, you can insure it up to 60% tax-free. Don't let your next paycheck be your last paycheck, okay? And bad things happen to good people. It's just life. That's the life we live. But Baker Burwell is the best resource for financial advisors and insurance agents when providing solutions for income protection. They're a trusted friend working with your trusted advisor to make sure that you are properly insured. They're a local and want to see their community be protected. So give them a call at 615-309-5958 or visit their website at bakerburwell.com.
Welcome back, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Rolling right along here on this final show of the week. NFC AFC Championship games this weekend. Niners, Rams, Bengals, Chiefs. Sorry to mention that last one to you. 615-737-1045 is the telephone number. Let's go to Tony. He's in Nashville. Back to the phone lines. Tony, what's going on?
What's up, Tony?
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Hey.
Thanks
Good.
for having me on.
No doubt.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of one of your other callers where he was saying basically the preparation for this game was kind of off. I agree as far as like the offensive coordinator. I just knew that he was going to incorporate Derrick Henry and I'm sorry, the other tailback, Foreman, yeah, into like, offset eye, because all this year we've been running basically a single back, and it gave all the teams, time to watch tapes and prepare for that same offense we've been running all season. And I just knew by him doing so good, Foreman, that they would some kind of way try to incorporate them in like a offset eye or anything. So I just didn't understand why he didn't prepare more for, just a different look or approach to this game, to kind of throw the defense off. So I think, we all understand that we stuck with Tannehill. I know everybody's blaming him, but, when you got lemons, you got to make lemonade. So I think we got the weapons. He's just going to have to get more creative with his play calling. I don't care if he got to go to a Madden game to figure out some new plays, just anything,
Yeah.
He's just going to have to get more creative. So I think we stuck with him, so we just got to work with what we got. I'll let you guys know. Thank you.
Yeah. That's about where it really stands at this point. You kind of hope that you don't want to blow up the entire team as far as, what you have. Because, again, the flexibility that you have going into this offseason, I don't know if it's going to allow you to get rid of Tannehill, change offensive coordinators. Also, you're missing a second-round pick, and depending on where you're picking at, that can be equivalent to another one, or you at least expect your 1, 2, and 3 draft picks, and then 4 also, 4th round, to be contributors. And you lose that this upcoming year going into the offseason too. As far as the creativity of what was expected this past weekend, it would have been cool to see some 2 running back sets with Foreman and with Henry also. With that much time during the off week, during the bye week, I think I was expecting more. But the Titans have shown time and time again that, look, what fix was not broken. And that's what they chose to do. And, the idea that, Derek needs reps to get going, or, to the fact that defenses, attract to him to try to stop him more often than not, kind of led to the fact where I think you needed more variety. I think moving forward, this fan base and me and everybody else recognizes there's a huge difference between what you do in the regular season and what you do in the postseason. You got to step it up. That's why everybody walks on eggshells a little bit when it comes down to saying, look, it's win or go on. And the expectations will be a whole lot higher because of what you did, let's say, going to 2020 and 2019, to where 2020 you had one of the best offenses in the whole NFL. And then you revamped that by sliding a little bit in 2021. I don't think it's going to be acceptable moving forward, especially with the tools that you have right now.
Yeah, look, I mean, again, it's difficult to say that it's Super Bowl or bust, but eventually you get to the point where making the playoffs over and over again isn't enough. Like,
Right.
I do think this, like, remember the question that I asked about, I can guarantee you win 1 Super Bowl over the next 20 years, but outside of that, you're pretty irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to be relevant, but you're probably not going to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What would you rather be? Well, look at it from the perspective of quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is going to keep you relevant.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to keep you relevant, but the chances are not great he's going to win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay? Not that it's impossible to fathom it, but things have to be perfect around him. I mean, look, Josh Allen just played the most ridiculous game you'll ever see from a losing quarterback.
Facts.
Tom Brady lost a Super Bowl to Nick Foles when he threw for over 400 yards in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of this that any quarterback at some point can't overcome. But if it meant, like, I promise you that you would win a Super Bowl if you ended up with, if you were able to take the risk on being real bad and finding the right quarterback, or do you just want to keep the pace with a guy that's winning you 11 or 12 a season, 10 games in a 16-game season, 11 games in a 17-game season? What do you think people would want? Do you want the guy that is pretty good but never going to be deemed elite? Or would you rather, even if it took it, bottoming out in order to become elite? Like, look how long it was where Buffalo was nothing, where they were irrelevant. And then even Josh Allen, it took him 3 years to get to where he really turned it on when they brought in Diggs and when they paired him up with Ken Dorsey, and the game slowed down for him and all that kind of stuff. But think about how long it was when Buffalo was just another bottom feeder at New England's feet.
Right.
In the AFC East.
Yep.
Would you rather have the Tyrod Taylor that made them mediocre for so very long? Or would you rather really bottom out so that you could end up with the other guy? And knowing that bottoming out probably means the next 3-4 years are probably not going to be kind to you as a fan, how do you think people would respond to that?
That's kind of where we are, right? I feel like we're in between either one of those situations, Jay. Like, you're legitimately in between either one of those situations with those scenarios. Do you continue on or do you make a change? And even so much so at the OC position already. That's been the biggest conversation ever as far as trying to get over the hangover of last weekend.
Yeah. Scotty's on the line. Scotty, what's going on?
Hey, guys. You got to give me a couple here because I'm going to let you have it. There are two OCs. Last year it didn't work. This year it didn't work. Tannehill is not a systematic quarterback. The best quarterbacks in the league, like everybody's talking about, Kansas City, he plays like he's backyard football. Tannehill wins the whatever for the week because he didn't get sacked and he run out of the pocket and ran. He needs to keep doing that. My next thing suggestion, because we can't get rid of him, I think they need to do like they did McNair. They need to get a Kerry Collins, somebody to come in and mentor him a little bit instead of having some rinky-dink backup that don't know nothing. So I'll just get on, and I want to bring this up. Cincinnati needs to win because we took care of the other three through the season. So that'll just show that we are second place. So I'll let y'all speak. Thank you.
Okay. The thing about Tannehill, you don't mentor a 33-year-old quarterback. No. Like, he's the mentor. That's why I call him Alex Smith, because Alex Smith mentored Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Mahomes had all the tangible skill. But what you find out if you talk to people close to the Chiefs organization is Alex Smith, who had been a number one pick, but just to stay in the league had to become the smartest guy in the game when it came to playbooks and being able to read defenses and all of those kinds of things. And Mahomes, who had all the physical skills, was deemed a project coming into the league because he was way off schedule and crazy in college in terms of the way he played. It seemed like, well, how is this going to get harnessed? Well, it's going to get harnessed because you marry that ridiculous talent to incredible, just analytical and all the blue collar stuff to stay in the league. The same thing as like Blaine Bishop, like Blaine coming from Ball State and what he had to do to get noticed in that day and age by an NFL team and to get his shot. He was already smarter than just about everybody in the game by the time that he got there. So Alex Smith is that way. Tannehill. What's the difference between Tannehill in Miami and Alex Smith in San Francisco? Not a whole heck of a lot.
Right.
Alex Smith had a little bit more success, but he lost his job there to Colin Kaepernick and had to have a second home where he won games. Then they drafted Mahomes behind him, and now it's Mahomes' team, and he was expendable. I think Tannehill is the mentor. He's the more mentorish type. I don't think you can bring in a veteran to mentor Tannehill like Tannehill's 25. I think that right there tells you he's not the guy. If you believe you got to bring in somebody to mentor a quarterback that's been in the league for a long time.
Yeah. again, I'm enjoying hearing what the fan base has to say. We were talking for a second, about this week. We're still hearing this fan base poured in a lot this year, and I know the players on the field do too. Because I hated hearing that as a former player, as a player when I played was, man, well the fans don't understand. Well, no, they do understand. This is one of those years in particular where it's just like, y'all asked us to come out and show, and they defended every aspect of this team, So hearing the frustration is warranted, Jay. Shafe, it's warranted this year. I give him that, and especially this week too. Everything that's coming this way is warranted, man. I feel them on every aspect of this past weekend.
No question. Look, they know what they saw. They're not blind to it. Let's
right.
Go to cousin Andrew in Portland. Andrew, what's going on?
Morning, fellas. 3 quick things. Jason, first of all, I know that you were kind of hinting at this earlier, but I'm going to come out and flat out say it. Force-feeding Derrick Henry was a mistake. I love the man. I got his jersey, the only jersey I own, hanging on my wall. But Foreman had the hot hand, and you're right. When you throw a kink in the system, it throws everything off. And I remember, I think I talked about this before the game, actually. 3HL was interviewing Roger Saffold, and he came out and said, yeah, each running back is different, and it takes a couple of weeks to adjust to the running back style, even if it is Derrick Henry. It's troublesome to me that was not taken more into consideration.
Yeah.
I think it became more about the return of the king than it did winning a playoff game. Second thing, no, do not sacrifice everything to guarantee, quote unquote, a Super Bowl. How quick we forget what we were going through before Mike Vrabel became the head coach, when we had the down years. Mike Mularkey got us to the playoffs, but Vrabel's the one who's turned us around to be consistently good. So no, we do not sacrifice everything to guarantee one Super Bowl, in my opinion. And lastly, I'll say this: God forbid we draft a quarterback in the first round. I say that because one of the only options that I can think that will fall to us, and sorry for trigger warning here for Titans fans, Matt Corral, and he just came off that injury, and Lord knows J-Rod's love for drafting first-round injured players. So in closing, I do think that J-Rod does need to have a Jeffrey Simmons year type of draft where he hits on get near every pick, and they solidly contribute. So that's what I got, fellas. Have a good weekend.
Appreciate it. Always well thought out.
But the one thing I want to ask him is before he jumped off real quick was, well, how long do you accept the line, consistent winning? You know what I'm saying? Like, before you demand, look, I need to see a trophy. I want a parade, Like, how long does that last? Without getting to the show.
Well, here's the thing. Like, if that's you, if you're accepting that, then don't complain about not getting a bunch of attention.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. Yeah.
Like, if you're cool being middle of the road or even a little bit above middle of the road, okay, above average, you've made the playoffs however many years in a row or whatever like that, that's still not national attention worthy. Like, national attention worthy is you're a real contender to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like, were you that or were you a step below that? I know what you were in their eyes, and you can say till the end of time, it doesn't matter, we don't care, all this other kind of stuff. That's fine. Then just recognize, okay, well, we're a pretty good football team, and we're going to win some games, and it's going to be fun, and tighten up. Like, there's a difference between that and the way Kansas City fans feel right now.
Yeah.
And the way Green Bay fans want to feel again because they've seen it before. And even Dallas fans who are our age now because they watched the 90s teams.
Yeah.
And have gone through that. There's a certain expectation where if you deserve and demand national attention because you're winning in crucial spots.
Right.
And I don't mean, unfortunately, I don't mean Sunday Night Football against the Rams. I mean right now. I mean January 28th, January 30th, when these teams are going to be playing these conference title games. These are the ones where the national respect comes along.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool if you don't care about that, but just understand that puts you in a certain classification as a team.
Minnesota.
And it's not necessarily top 5.
Yeah, Minnesota. LA Chargers.
Well, here's the thing with the national respect. We're not talking about it anymore until they're in the Super Bowl.
Oh.
We're done.
I agree.
We're done. Hey, there's nothing more to add to that.
Yeah.
And here's your situation. Ryan Tannehill's your quarterback, at least for one more year. And he's still a top 10 through 14 quarterback, which is a lot better than a lot of teams in this league.
Yep.
If you want to go and add a veteran as a backup to push him, great. If it's available and you can do it, awesome. If you can go and get somebody who you think is better than Ryan Tannehill and not give up the farm, great. That's awesome. And here's the thing. The only way you're really going to get a franchise quarterback, you're going to have to go and draft a franchise quarterback, which this team has struggled with terribly now for 2 decades, like many other franchises have. And even if you get that franchise quarterback, a la an Aaron Rodgers, who won 1 Super Bowl, okay? Phillip Rivers, who was an elite quarterback, let's be honest with the Chargers, never even got there. It's hard. That's not an excuse. That's not letting anybody off the hook. But to just throw the baby out with the bathwater right now is just grieving.
Yeah, no, it is. And I actually was thinking about that same analogy, Shake, but here's the question. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but what defines the bathwater?
That's a great question.
What is the bathwater that actually you feel needs to be thrown out? Because there's a lot that's right here.
Because
there's a lot of good decisions that have been made here. But I think there is some room to discuss how much bathwater there is that needs to be tossed out.
One thing I'm extremely proud of with the Titans fan base this week is all week and continuing for as long into the future as it needs to take, Titans fans are saying this isn't good enough anymore. And to change that perception, to get that respect, to get the results you want and desire, you're holding them to a higher standard and higher accountability. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. And I'm really happy that it's no longer, we play better as the underdog. No, you don't always want to be that. You don't always want to be viewed as the underdog. You want to be the biggest, baddest kid in the neighborhood, and it takes time.
Yeah, the biggest success Mike Vrabel and John Robinson have had is in creating expectations for this fan base.
Yeah.
Because it proves that they've actually turned things around
For
and
any
put it
flaws
in the right direction.
And mistakes that Vrabel and J-Rob have made, like any coach and GM combination has made. The fact that the standard has been raised is a really good thing. And this year is still another step in that process and still a part of the growing pains to get it to another level. So for the fans being as upset as they have been this week, I applaud you because you should be, because you're wanting more.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
That's so true. Which is why I said I wanted to ask Andrew, how long are you really willing to fly right here?
Eventually, you want to go a little bit higher.
You don't mind.
Low,
it's not a bad baseline. It's not a terrible baseline, but you want to raise that floor even more.
Balo is in Thompson Station. Balo, go right ahead.
What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Hey.
Morning.
So one of the biggest trends I'm seeing, and not just in the NFL, but you can look at every layer of football, every level of football, is a lot of these coordinators are not adapting to the talent that they have. And I say that to say this. Ryan Tannehill is an athletic quarterback who can get outside the pocket and make plays. With that being said, if the offensive line is not protecting him, why are you consistently keeping him in the pocket? You've got Dante Foreman and you've got Derrick Henry. Why are we not having both of those guys in the back at the same time in a staggered I formation? You've got 2 of the best receivers in the game, although Julio Jones is not, at the level he was before. But we're not properly using the time that we have. We know the offensive lineman, Taylor Lewan, is not the same guy. We've had those issues for the last 2, maybe 3 years with the offensive line. But we have failed to adapt to adjust to our talent level. If we begin to do this more often than not, we can probably get the best out of each player. That's one of the biggest things about coaches. Ramon, you play at the highest level of football in the world. One of the best coaches always adapt their scheme to their players. I.e., look at the teams that are in the Final Four right now.
Yeah.
The 49ers.
Yeah.
They can't throw the ball, but they can damn sure run that ball. Excuse my language. and that's what they do to get there. The Titans could have ran all over the Bengals, but they chose to do something that is not conducive to the talent that they have. I hang up and let you guys go.
Belo?
Whoa.
Lot there. I want to car wash this thing a little bit, but that's well stated. Peyton in Nashville. Peyton, what's up?
How y'all doing today?
Good. Good morning.
Hey, I just wanted to talk about the draft. Who y'all think we're going to get this year? I mean, I feel like we should try to trade up and get Jamison Williams.
But again, that's another hurt guy.
Yeah, it's another hurt guy. I don't think you're trading up for a wide receiver. I'm sorry. I just don't. Jameson Williams can play, and I think I saw him mocked Kansas City somewhere.
Because they can afford to wait, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably going to be gone by the time the Titans are picking, most likely. I just don't think wide receiver is the thing that you got to address in the first round.
I think I know what direction they should probably go in, but man, is it going to piss people off.
Say it now.
Offensive lineman.
I knew that was. I mean, yeah.
Dog shave.
Two of the top 5 picks are going to be offensive linemen.
Yeah. Oh,
golly. Evan in Nashville. Evan, what you got?
What's up, guys? Hey, I think a good analogy to the whole winning the Super Bowl in 20 years or staying relevant would be, would you rather be the Eagles and go to 4 straight NFC championships that included a Super Bowl loss, or be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who won in 2002 and then faded into obscurity for about the better part of over a decade?
Yep.
But anyway, when it comes to Ryan Tannehill, he is obviously good enough to win with. And when he's on, he's on. I think the only biggest issue with him, and a lot of this just is the result of the quarterback market, is he has the cap hit and the salary of a guy who's supposed to elevate those around him, and he necessarily doesn't do that on a consistent enough basis. So overall, when it comes to the play, I think everything's good. But when you look at that salary cap number and that cap hit, then you're kind of like, how's this going to work from here on out?
Yeah, the expectation needs to be higher with what he's actually being paid to do.
And you do want a quarterback that can raise everybody else's game. And it seems like Tannehill's more one of the guys in terms of they all play well together or they don't necessarily play well together. But he's not a guy that like rallies them to A+ level when they're having a C- day.
Yep.
At least not from the outside looking in. Maybe that's incorrect. If I was a member of the team, I might try to push back against that. But watching it personally, I see a very select few guys in the NFL that can do that. One of them's the guy that beat you last Saturday in Joe Burrow, and the way that he carries himself, even as basically a rookie. He's a 1.5 year player because he missed half of last year. We'll come back. We'll try to get in Tony K, Wash, and Mark. We'll be right back. It's JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back. Finishing up JMart and Ramon. Buck Rising coming up next here. We'll be back on Monday. We'll recap the NFC AFC title games, continue the fallout because the calls just haven't stopped. In fact, let's see if we can get through these. So try to be quick if you're on hold right now. We're going to try and get through these three phone calls before we close up shop and let everybody talk. Mark in Clarksville. Mark, go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. First, I want to say that I was born and raised in Inglewood, California, and I'm a big Rams fan. Okay, can't help it. But I joined the military, and I got out of the military, retired at Clarksville. So I've been here about 26 years. Now I'm a Titan fan until they play the Rams. But I'm a season ticket holder, so I'm dropping the cheddar for season tickets for the last 5 years. So I root for the Titans. So I said all that to say this: keep the team intact. Keep what you got, man. They're the AFC. They got the number 1 seed in the AFC. They did something right. Henry went out in October, and they still won. So that says a lot about coaching, a lot about the team. Is their defense good enough to win a Super Bowl? Heck yeah. Their defense, they need to keep intact. So can they get another quarterback better than Tannehill? If that's the case, who? So that's the big thing. Who can they get that's better than him? Hell, half the teams in the NFL want to say that. So you have to reevaluate that and try to get yourself some franchise quarterback, or try to draft one, or try to get one in free agency. It's like anything else, like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yes, sir.
As far as Henry, I have two criticisms, and I'm not trying to be an armchair quarterback. I have two criticisms. One is, in that game, they should have started Foreman and then brought Henry in off the bench. That kid is the reason why they won those games. He came in the game, I think he had 3 or 4 carries, I don't know, something. He came in and had a 54-yard rip and set him on the bench the rest of the game. That was a problem, as far as I'm concerned. They should have let that young man play a little bit more in that game. And I believe I agree with the last caller. He was an analyst that said it was so big thing about the King returning. I think that was a mistake. The other thing is, everything else, Julio Jones, did they get the money that they're paying him? Did they get what they got out of Julio? Well, everybody knows they didn't. Does that mean to get rid of him? I think personally he's played his best football. I think he's played his best football, and he's a lot of injury prone. The same thing I can say about Taylor Lewan. If you want to start throwing out names, he got his big contract and not been very good for the last three seasons or so. You can say a lot of different things. My main comment is why you want to bust up the team that got it to the AFC, got the
seed.
Yeah, we got you,
That's
Mark.
right.
We appreciate the phone call. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. Unfortunately, Washington J, that one went longer than we were hoping it's going to, but definitely a lot of good points there. We'll still be talking about this on Monday. If you didn't get through today, try on Monday. If you can, enjoy the football this week. Bucks next. Moan, send us home.
Remember, Twitter fingers and your mic are always hot.
Tighten up! Gas tank!